I want you in your storm shelter. If you're up and at 'em, hopefully your weather radio or your First Alert weather app is giving you that first alert to tell you you're under a tornado warning right now. If not, if you are in Dyer County, Dyersburg, and you know anybody who is in northern Craighead or Crockett County, western DeSoto or Gibson County, and into eastern Dyer County, give them a call, wake them up. Tell them there's a tornado right now. We've got that one there, and we've got another one that's back here just to the west in Craighead and Poinsett counties. Do the same. Let your neighbors know. We've got nighttime tornadoes working their way through the area. One possibly confirmed, another Doppler radar indicated, but these storms are packing a punch nonetheless. So let me go back to the home view. I'm going to put a quick track on these. Eric, I'll throw it back to you in just one moment.
Copy.
But as we do get back to the home view here, I'm going to do two tracks. First, this one that's coming into Poinsett County right now. Let me zoom in just a little tighter on that so I can give you a better accurate track on it. These are moving at what, about 30, 35 miles per hour?
Ron, I think you might have to adjust the speeds on this a little bit because at least with the one in Dyer County, that one is up to 50.
Okay, I tell you what, let me track this one. I think I'm tracking that at what, at about 35 to 40 miles per hour. So I may need to come back and put a new track on that just to give you an idea. Yeah, I'm tracking that at about 40 miles per hour. Let's say what, 40, 45 is what it's moving.
So that one's moving. So these are moving. The one that is confirmed is 55. The one that's in Dyersburg is 35 as far as the forward speed on it. So I don't know if you want to split the difference and go with a 45 there.
I tell you what, let's do that. I'm going to go with a 45. I'd rather give you a little more warning, advance warning on the timing of that, as opposed to lagging behind.
And Ron, while you're doing that, let me show you what we have going on. So I do want to give a tip of the cap to the Crockett County emergency management officials that we do have over in Alamo. This is looking over in Alamo right now. And every now and then you see that there's quite a bit of lightning that does pop up here. And there have been some ominous looking clouds. Obviously, it is 12:34 at night. So unless there's lightning, we're not going to be able to see a whole heck of a lot. This is something I'll keep a really close eye on because obviously if there's a confirmed tornado on the ground, we want to be able to show you that here. So this way you have that visual confirmation and you really have that first alert as far as it being confirmed on the ground. Good news is, quote unquote, this is a tornado warning, but it has been observed on the ground. Ron, we obviously have that one that is over into Poinsett and Craighead counties right now that was confirmed on the ground here. So I think you were about to put a track on that. What you got with that?
Yeah, and I've got it right now, so let's check it out. I'll tell you what, let me just clear it out. Sergio, bring me up full if you don't mind, please. Let's take a look here. I'm going to clear this off. Let's put another track on this just to give you a better idea, a little more precision tracking with this. So, Wiener. It's going to come in at 12:39. It will get into Apt at about 12:45. Greenfield, 12:51. Bay at about 12:55. Truman, 1:04. Then it's going to move into Bunny at about 1:08, 1:13 into Steyr. So that is for the storm we're tracking right now that's coming on through western Craighead County and just beginning to enter northwestern Poinsett County. Let me zoom out again, reset, give you a picture. Did they just drop that tornado warning? That's what it looks like there. Let me zoom back in because if you can check on that, Eric. We've got another tornado warning just to the east of the river, but I want to check in on our friends here in Dyer County.
They did cancel it.
And give a quick update into Gibson County. All right, so the Poinsett County tornado, that has now been canceled, but we've got this one right now. That is coming on through Dyer County. Looks like it is just to the east of Dyersburg. I'm going to go ahead and track that on through Gibson County. So Bonaccord right around 12:37 should be coming in. Friendship 12:47. Curry 12:49. Then we'll see that move on into Trenton at 12:59. So just before 1 a.m. that's coming into Trenton, Tennessee. 106 Fruitland. Then into Gibson at 1:13. Milan 1:15. And then we'll see this continue if it holds together, coming into McLemoresville at about 1:23. Right now, I'm looking at the velocity on this. This is wind speed and direction, all right? So I'm going to zoom in just a little tighter to see if we can see any specific, and I see it right there. That's pretty well defined. Look at that, Eric.
And Ron,
that's something else. If that is not a tornado, at the very least, that is some potent wind coming into play. Let me hit spectrum width on this.
Ron, while you're doing that too,
idea. Yeah, what do you got?
I have an 8.3 on the BTI number with that.
Take it.
So,
let me see.
All right, sure. As far as what we have going on with that here, the BTI number, so that is known as the Barron Tornado Index. That's a number that ranges from 0 to 10. 0 meaning no tornado, 10 meaning uh-oh, to put it politely here. And between talking with Chief Meteorologist Ron Childers and Meteorologist Spencer Denton, when the two of them tag team a lot of severe weather here going back over the past about 10 years or so, whenever that number jumped to a 7, that was their, hey, we really do believe we have a tornado on the ground. So if we're talking about this number being an 8.2, obviously that is greater than a 7 and one that we have to keep an eye on. Yet again, this is just east of Dyersburg, Tennessee. These are moving to the southeast, the east-southeast roughly at about 35 miles per hour. So let me turn around and give you guys a storm track so you can see exactly where this is headed towards here. Hopefully be able to pop up the storm track here. Let me redo that, turn that off, turn this back on.
I see a well-defined hook in there.
Yeah.
I see a very well-defined hook, Eric.
So if we're tracking that at about 35 miles per hour, this is looking to be in Gibson, the town of Gibson, at about 133.23, and then Milan at about, or Milan rather, at 126. So, Ron, I think this is going to stay just north of Humboldt and maybe right near Trenton, Tennessee. And of course, I know a lot of people in Trenton, Tennessee, they certainly do watch us here at Action News 5. So certainly want to keep a really close eye on that, especially with the BTI number that is as high as 8.2 rather. That's a big number.
That's an indication to us that there is a tornado on the ground. Anytime we see that number 7 and above, historically that is proven true to produce a tornado, or there is confirmation of a tornado there. So right now, this is what we've got. I've got the scope overlapping the next round radar, and just to clear this out. So here's what we're seeing right now. There's a little inflow knot, and look at this. This thing's starting to curl a little more. We're getting that low-level jet coming into play tonight. That's it right there. Then I put the scope on here, all right? So this is going to give us the wind speed and direction. And as we take a quick look at that, you can see that area right there where we've got that green and red pixels coming together. There is some tight rotation right there. So let me clear this out of here. I'm going to put a track on this.
FYI,
there was track it from right there in that what looks like a little bounded weak echo region right there. Do you see that, EB?
Yeah.
You can tell that. So Eaton, 1254, Brazil, 103, Frog Jump. That's going to come to you right around 108, 112 into Trenton, Fruitland, 115, 121 into Tucker's Corner. I want you in your storm shelter right now. If you are in eastern DeSoto County, even if you're just to the north of this polygon for the tornado warning.
Eastern Dyer County, not DeSoto.
Excuse me, Dyer County, Northwest Tennessee. I want you to get in your storm shelter right now. Gibson County, anybody in western Gibson County, northern Crockett County, make sure you are in your storm shelter. And you know, Eric, we had nocturnal tornadoes coming through April of last year. You and I were tracking those. And one of the things that we talked about with late night tornadoes like this, a lot of people were sleeping.
Yeah.
If you're in your neighborhood, you're close proximity, you got your car keys, maybe you can hit that alarm, set your alarm off on your car to wake your neighbors up.
Right.
It's not a rude thing to do right now because there's a tornado warning bearing down on you.
Right, and you know, a glass half full mentality is that it isn't confirmed on the ground here, but with the number being an 8, it's obviously elevated. One thing that I think it's always good to reiterate too, hey, if you did just wake up because the First Alert Weather app sent you a notification that there's a tornado warning going on, what should you do? Where should you go? The first thing to do is just kind of get a comprehensive and come up with a quick plan right now. Put some sneakers on your feet. It's a good idea to turn around, and this is a new prop that we have. Get yourself a helmet. If you have a helmet nearby, throw it on your head right now. If you are under that tornado warning, it could be a bicycle helmet, it could be a football helmet, something that's going to protect your head. If you don't have a helmet like this just conveniently on hand, turn around and get some pillows, some blankets, put them over your head as well. As far as where you should go, in the interior of your house, put as many walls between yourself and the outside world. Try to get into a closet, get into a bathroom. If you live in a 2-story house and you're on the bottom floor, you do want to go to the lowest level possible. Keep in mind what is above your head too. If you have washing machines, if you have dryers, things like that that are above you, you don't want that on top of you, because if unfortunately your house does, crumble per se, or the top floor comes into the bottom floor, you don't want to get crushed by a washer or dryer. So just keep that in mind as well. As far as what we have going on here with the wide view of things across the Mid-South, if you're in northern Mississippi, you're in really good shape right now. If you are really along and south of I-40, for the most part, you're in pretty good shape right now. It's all about what we have going on into Dyer County, and specifically just to the east of Dyersburg. The last thing I want to show you guys, so this way you can see what we have going on over my shoulder here momentarily, I'm going to show you what it looks like over into Alamo, Tennessee, because I think it's really important and really relevant for us to show you what we have going on for live pictures, live videos, if we do have anything that is confirmed on the ground. And I know Alamo, Tennessee, it's not necessarily right on top of where the potential tornado warned area is. And unfortunately, it looks like that camera is going out right now. But I wouldn't
be surprised. There's a lot of lightning up there.
Well, and Ron, we were looking at that camera going back to, what was it, Thursday, I think it was, or something like that. That camera is pretty elevated as well in the actual sky. So even the areas that aren't, at surface level, higher up, those ones are cruising.
Yeah, so let's walk our way through this once again. So here's a look at the big picture. All the activity right now, primarily into northeastern Arkansas and the Missouri Boot Heel, northwest Tennessee. We have one active tornado warning right now. That is for Crockett, Dyer, and Gibson counties. That is going to go until 1:15. So a tornado warning there. We've also got a very large severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect for Dunklin, Lauderdale, Mississippi, and Pemiscot counties. That's going to go until 1 a.m. And just to the west of that, we've got the severe thunderstorm warning that had a tornado warning in it just a few moments ago. It has now been downgraded to just a severe thunderstorm warning. But I want you to treat this as you would a tornado warning, because this has had a history of producing a tornado. We saw a pretty significant debris ball with this as it was approaching Craighead County and Poinsett County. So tornado possible in that. The warning itself is going to go until 1 a.m. So these are the warnings we have right now. Memphis Metro, we're in great shape, but this whole line is going to push to the south and southeast, and that is going to bring this activity into the Memphis Metro sometime between now and about 3 a.m. So we're looking at some potent overnight, late night, strong to severe thunderstorms, still packing a pretty good wallop with all of this. And just taking a look at spectrum width, this gives us an idea of where the greatest amount of turbulence is. And you can see the bulk of it right there along that leading edge. I'll zoom in just a touch, where you see the brighter orange colors right here. This is the area, for the most part, where we're seeing the potential for the strongest winds. So just at the very least, there is the potential for strong winds to come into play. And this whole thing is kind of pushing to the south, southeast right now. And that's going to make for an active night for West Tennessee as we continue to watch these storms move on through. Right now, again, the Memphis Metro faring well. Just to the north, by the way, or to the east in northern McNairy County, we got a pretty significant storm that's working its way through there right now. As a matter of fact, the severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect for, this is Chester, Hardin, Henderson, and McNairy counties. That's going to go until 1 a.m. So we've got several warnings working at this time, and that warning itself, many of these will expire at 1 a.m., but it's pretty active right now. The big question is, what is it going to do as we get into the overnight hours? I want to throw up Futurecast here in just a second to give you an idea, but Eric, I'm going to let you take it because you've got a pretty good view on that storm that's coming on through. Looks like, where are you? Right around New Bern, Tennessee?
Yep, New Bern, Dyersburg.
Dyer County?
Correct.
Yeah, let's check it out.
So now we got that camera working again here. Just want to give you yet again an idea what we have going on over into Alamo.
Lightning.
Plenty of lightning around here. Haven't seen anything that's really an indication of a funnel or a tornado that is on the ground. Of course, a tornado is a funnel cloud that is on the ground here. With that said, though, can obviously keep an eye on this because, there is a tornado warning that is in the general vicinity here. All right, as far as what we have still going on here when it comes to the radar across the Mid-South, that BTI number, that Barron Tornado Index number, yet again, ranges from a 0, don't have to worry about it, to a 10, to put it politely here. That number is at an 8.6 right now, and we were just talking about that number being, I believe it was at an 8.4. So it nudged up from an 8.4 to an 8.6 here. That's a really significant number as far as what that's showing. If there's any sort of good news, it's the fact that the debris detector isn't picking anything up right now. This is not in a great spot, though, with respect to radar coverage. The closest radars to here are in Memphis or into Millington, pointing to the northeast and then over towards Paducah. So we have a little bit of a distance here, but some of these brighter, let me go back to the storm ones. Some of the brighter greens that you see pop up here when they get closer to some of those reds, that's an indication at least of some turbulence going on. So let's talk more about where we're at. So we're kind of into Dyersburg, or Dyer County, Crockett County, Gibson County, really where all three of these meet. Forks of the river, Bluff Road, Spring Hill, Bluff Cutoff Road, Wide Lane, over into Fuller Road, Carlton Turner Road, Riverside, Yorkville Road, a few of these locations that are into Gibson County here, and this is headed to the southeast over towards Eaton. So your first alert, if you know anybody that is into the northern portion of Crockett County, the far east, southeastern corner of Dyer County, the southwestern corner of Gibson County, make sure they have a first alert and they know what's going on. And Ron, this just kind of caught my eye. That's a little bit further to the south here, getting a little bit closer to Alamo. Just kind of popped up here with the storm winds, looking pretty bright with some of these greens and some of these reds. So.
Yeah, that is right around Maury City. We need to keep a close eye on that. That's looking like that's wanting to spin just a little bit.
And Ron, do you think as far as the situation that we have right now, a lot of these seem like they're the quick little spin-up tornadoes. They come up, they come down. It seems like it's that, but the environment is still very favorable for these things to track for a while.
Yeah, and here's what we've got going on. A lot of directional shear out there. As a matter of fact, let me put this up here and just kind of give you an idea. I can draw out what's happening. So at the surface, we've got a pretty strong south wind, all right? So it is hitting that leading edge. This whole line is trying to push to the east, but it's also being forced from the north a bit to the south and southeast. So right along that leading edge, right there, that's where we start to see a little spin developing.
And Ron, I think where that convergence is happening now, meteorologist Ryan Vaughn, who works with one of our parent companies, Gray Media, into Jonesboro, Arkansas, he just said that there's a rope tornado on the Craighead Poinsett County line. So that's back on the ground apparently right now.
All right, so we can look for a potential for another warning to come from that. There are some storm spotters, storm chasers up there in that area. Let me give you an idea of how this is going to play out, because Futurecast is initializing very well. From now until about 1:30, this is going to continue to sag a little farther south, and I expect it to be coming on through Lauderdale, Tipton, and entering Shelby County. And we're also likely going to see activity around Fayette, Hardeman, and McNairy counties, extending back to the west for Poinsett and Craighead or Cross County. So we're going to watch this very closely as it projects and pushes to the south and southeast. But watch this, from about 1:30 until 3 a.m., that starts to make a big push to the east. Now keep in mind, we're starting to get to late night hours. The atmosphere tries to stabilize to some degree, and that will help to weaken some of these storms and hopefully shear them apart, allowing the more potent aspect of this to push off to the east. As we roll forward from 3 until about 6 a.m., that's when we're likely going to be dealing with clouds. So I think for the very early morning commute tomorrow, you ought to be in good shape. But right now, it's a little hairy out there, and we just had a new tornado warning that was just issued. So the National Weather Service replacing the tornado warning that was there. This is for Craighead and Poinsett counties. This is going to go until 1:15. And again, look at all of the lightning. I think that lightning is really starting to ramp up. I'm going to hit that, see how many strikes we've got in here. 1,600 strikes, so it's up about 300 strikes from the last check just about 20 minutes ago. So as I clear this off of here, let's put this whole line into motion for you and just show you the movement of this activity right now. We'll take the lightning off there, and you can see it just really slowly spreading to the south and southeast, but it is making that move nonetheless. And Memphis, Shelby County, and areas along and north of the 40 corridor all poised to get a taste of this line as it's coming on through. But I do want to zoom in just a little tighter and take a look at this polygon for the tornado warning we've got now for Poinsett County. That was the one Eric was talking about, where there was some visual, it was visual confirmation. Am I right, Eric?
So I don't think that is warned. That isn't warned for being observed, but Ryan Vaughn did note that it was a rope tornado on the county line there.
Let me put a track on it real quick and give folks an idea of where this is going to go.
And that's got an inflow to it too.
Here you can see that inflow notch right there. Let me make sure I'm also tracking it from the proper location too, because there could be a little something here. Looks like there's a little something there. And there's a bow echo right there. That could be really packing a punch with wind. But I'm going to put the scope on here. Let's see if we can identify the area where we are seeing the greatest amount of rotation. That's where we have these red pixels coming in close proximity to the green pixels. So we've got outbound and inbound winds. So these green, this area of green, that's moving towards the radar site, the red moving away from the radar, and that is giving us the counterclockwise flow of that. So now as I go back to the next rad here, let's track it from that area right there to the south and southeast. I'll take it right there to the edge of the polygon. So Cary, 154, Davis Spur, right around 108. We'll see that move into Truman at about 112. Then move into Hatchie-Coon at about 115, Cassidy 119, and Bunny at 123. But another track on this, I want to track this entire line because it is moving to the south and southeast. So let's track it from this line right here and go this way with it and take it on down. These are the folks that are going to be in the path of this entire section of the storm. So the potential for damaging wind at the very least, very heavy rain, maybe even hail. We haven't even looked at that aspect of it yet. But Greenfield about 1254, Bay 1258. Then it will move into Davis Spur at 1 a.m., 104 into Truman. We'll see that then make its way into Donick at about 110, 112 into Cassidy, Rivervale 116, and Lepanto, that's coming at you right around 119. This is moving at about 45 to 50 miles per hour, so it's got a good movement with it. I'm going to take a look one more time at the velocity on this, the winds. There could be some pretty decent winds right here along that leading edge. I think there could be some the potential for a damaging straight line wind, and I'm also seeing some indication of some pretty strong winds coming in behind it. What is that? I'm not seeing, I can't query the wind speeds itself. Eric, you may be able to get a better view on that, but anything on that that catches your eye that makes you think we got to watch this even closer?
I think we're overall kind of, doing a good job monitoring it. As far as what I have for the storm winds, it's indicating 60 miles per hour. That's also looking approximately 2,700 feet above the surface of really where Poinsett and Crockett counties intersect each other. So, obviously we don't want any confirmed tornado on the ground. And we don't want a tornado warning in general, but 60 mile per hour winds can certainly cause issues when it comes to severe weather. As far as what we have going on, Ron's been talking about it with the big picture here across the Mid-South. If you're in Shelby County, we've been in pretty good shape really all throughout the day. We've had a couple of showers and thunderstorms move on through. A lot of those have been able to dry themselves off to the east, and they aren't an issue immediately right now. All the activity, it's off into the Tennessee River Valley and up to the north right now and into the Missouri Boot Heel, into Mississippi County, into Dyer County, Crockett County. We're still dealing with some pretty hefty thunderstorms. So, and some of them are obviously strong to severe. I'm going to turn off all the warnings right now because quite frankly, it's making this a lot more convoluted if I keep them on here and there's just a lot of distracting things. And I know these arrows are distracting as well, so we're going to kind of go through them step by step. So on the left-hand side of your screen, I have those two boxes that are up. That is for the area that is on the right-hand side of your screen. Let me get this green pencil and kind of circle it. So we're looking on the right-hand side of your screen where there is a line that is in there. It's known as a SCIT. It is a Storm Center Information, what is it, Ron? The SCIT,
Storm Center Identification and Track.
Thank you, sir. So that right now has a BTI of a 7.0 on it, and this looks to be headed towards specifically into the heart of Crockett County. So your first alert, if you're into Crockett County right now, while there is actually not a tornado warning on top of you, it's at least nearby here. I do want to get a little bit closer for a look so we can see what we have going on specifically. And this is looking over towards the Alamo vicinity. So if you're in Alamo right now, if you're watching us here on Action News 5, whether it be on television, if you're streaming us, if you're watching us on YouTube, if you're watching us anywhere, get into that safe place right now. If you know anybody that is over into Alamo, Tennessee, give them a first alert, let them know what they have going on. That number is now even up to a 7.7 here. So keeping a really close eye on that. If we could, I could see that the Crockett County emergency officials, they're trying to mess with one of the cameras and see exactly what we have going on here. So if you could take me, who's in the background now? We got Sergio, I believe. Thank you for putting me back up there. There's obviously a lot of lightning right now. The thing is with the lightning, you need it to kind of be in a lot of different places to light up the sky so we could kind of get more of a 3D look what we have going on. And yet again, this is in Alamo, Tennessee, the heart of Alamo, Tennessee. Ron, what was it that's across the street from the emergency management agency where this was? I know that we were looking at this the other day.
I can't recall right off the top of my head, but
gotcha.
yeah, we were looking in that area. It's right there in town.
So we have the one gas station that is, I believe it's on the south side of town and further to the north, and this camera has the ability to spin basically 360 degrees. You can't see to the southeast, and I think this is the opposite of that, so this will be looking towards the northwest right now, and this is the general vicinity where I think the tornado would be. So you can see that they're messing with the camera right now a little bit to see what we have going on and trying to indicate and find if there is a tornado there. Fortunately, we don't see one around right now. Yet again, I'm going to keep a close eye on this because if we see it pop up on the screen, obviously you guys are going to want to know exactly where it is. All right, going back to what we have going on with the radar here across the Mid-South, I do want to reiterate, if you're in Shelby County, you're fine right now. We're still keeping a close eye on things because we still do have that tornado watch that is in place for another 4 hours here, and it's only 1 o'clock in the morning. That is until 5 o'clock in the morning. As far as what we have going on in northern Mississippi, it's been pretty quiet throughout most of the day. We did have a severe thunderstorm earlier yesterday, I guess technically, into Marshall, Benton, Tippah, and Lafayette counties, and Union County as well. That's long out of here. So most of northern Mississippi is in pretty good shape right now. But Ron, we still have obviously a lot of strong storms and severe storms that are up to the north right now. Got to keep a really close eye on these. I don't believe we have anything that is confirmed on the ground right now, but a lot of these are going up and down pretty quickly. I guess that's one good thing as opposed to staying consistently on the ground, but it's still scary when that does happen.
Well, and that's the nature of this situation as well. Again, it's encountering that stronger south wind that's coming into play. We've got that low-level jet that's in place tonight. So is this line trying to move to the south and southeast? Well, you've got forcing coming out of the south that wants to stall it. So segments of this line are moving at different speeds. And I know this just looks like you can see all the lightning that's in there. Absolutely amazing. I'll take this off for you right now and give you a better view of just the radar view itself. And then let's zoom in and start to put some tracks on this and give you an idea of what is coming our way. We'll start over here with Poinsett County. And I also want to hit this little line back here because watch this as I put this into motion. We're keeping the close eye on this line.
That's going to hit Shelby County, I bet,
I think that's going to come into Cross County at the very least. So with that in mind, right now, let's go ahead and put a track on that to give you an idea of what time that could be impacting Cross County. And as we track it to the south and southeast, Wiener at about 105, that should get into Fisher at 113, Harrisburg 119, then moving into Cherry Valley about 132, Bird Eye at 138, Wynn right around 150, Earl just before 2 a.m. at 159, and right around 211 should get into Crawfordsville. So we're talking about this section of the storm right here. All right, there was the track there. Now let's pan off a little farther to the east. Let's take a look at this tornado warn track. Right now, we'll put the next rat on here just to show you where that potential rotation is. And it was right there, kind of right on the Craighead, Poinsett County line. So Truman, 110. That's when you could have a tornado coming through. Cassidy, 117. So that's when that center of rotation will be right on top of you. Mark Tree, 125. Alto, 130. Bondsville, 135. Then moves into Dyer at about 139. We'll see it get into Birdsong at 143. Kaiser, 149. I'm going to put one more track on here, and you're going to see some of these same communities pop up again, but I'm going to track the entire line itself. And as I put this into motion, one more time, we're keeping an eye right here. So notice how that whole line's just kind of pushing south and east. So let's put a track on that, the leading edge of it. We'll take it right to there and go south and southeast with it. That's going to take it into Shelby County, Rosemark. just after 2 a.m. So here we are right now, just after 1 a.m. and within an hour, that's going to be making its way into northern Shelby County. But right now, Bunny 102, Mark Tree, that's coming through you at about 115, Tyronza 123, Golden Lake 134, Corona 140. We'll see it move into Drummond's at 147, Millington at 159, and again 202, that will move into Rosemark. So not only do we have the tornado warning there? Again, that tornado warning itself going to go until 1:15. Just to the north and east of that, we've got a severe thunderstorm warning, and this cell that's moving through Mississippi County, that's packing a punch. So Craighead, Dunklin, Mississippi, and Pemiscot counties, you are under a severe thunderstorm warning. That's going to go until 1:45. And as I put a track on this entire line, let's go ahead and stop this just for a moment. You see that little Boeing segment? Eric, I'm going to come to you after I put a track on here just to kind of see what the winds are right there south of Blytheville. But let's check this out, and we'll track it from right here around the Mississippi River to the south and east. And that's the direction. It's going to take more of a easterly, southeasterly trek with it. I'll try to follow it along the polygon itself, and let's go ahead and take it into northern Hardeman County. Osceola 111, Kaiser 121, then into Ripley at about 122. So that'll cross the river into West Tennessee, Lauderdale County. Covington 137. At the very least, it's going to get windy. It's going to get loud from the wind and the lightning. Brownsville 147. Woodland 158. Then we'll see that get on into Huntersville right around 205 and should make its way into Fayette Corners at about 215. So that is for this portion of the storm right here that's right there in northern Mississippi County right now. And that cell, that is really looking just a little ominous just in the shape of it. And Eric, just checking out the winds with that itself, I'm going to take a look at spectrum width here because oftentimes we can see that little bit of turbulence is developing right there along the leading edge. You see anything else that looks a little telling or maybe worth watching closer?
So the winds that are up there, they definitely look like they are on the stronger side. I've been turning around looking at some Arkansas Department of Transportation cameras to see what we have going on along I-55, really from Osceola north. A lot of these are unfortunately pointed a little bit too much on the ground here, but they are the Department of Transportation cameras. They're doing what they're supposed to do. With that said, this one is closer to Osceola. Notice that it's northbound. So we're trying to see if there's really a lot of lightning popping up, a lot of rain, and there's certainly rain out there, but I'm not seeing anything too terribly ominous. With that said, though, but keeping a close eye what we have going on here when it comes to the strong winds. Once you start seeing some of these brighter greens, that starts to draw our attention here. As far as where some of the heaviest rain is right now, it looks to be a little bit closer to the Truman, Arkansas area and headed south on 555. So your first alert, if you're in Mark Tree, if you're in Truman, Lepanto, Ron was rattling off a few of those areas earlier. Get into the your safe place right now. Even if this isn't necessarily tornado warned, it's still a good idea just to be safe than sorry. What I'm kind of doing right now behind the scenes is popping up some more cameras, what we have going on. This is a little bit closer to Bay, Arkansas. Excuse me. You do see that there's plenty of lightning around. I mean, it looks like there's quite frankly, a child messing with the light switch going on and off with it right now. But this is just the abundance of lightning that is going on into this portion of the Mid-South. And yet again, just as far as where this is, if we look at what we have with radar, I was talking about Bay, Arkansas, Truman. This is literally right in the sweet spot where some of the heaviest rain is knocking on the door of, and that will continue to drive itself down to the southeast here. So
also looks like we've got converging winds right there. You see that little elbow of sorts?
Right where the T is pretty much in Truman. That's where Ron's talking about, right in this area, right here.
There could be an inflow notch right there.
And let's check out the Barron button, see what we have going on with that. Ron, we were talking about this earlier. Sometimes this is almost the best way to see if we have a tornado going on here.
The precision tracker is great at this.
Without a doubt. Fortunately, there's nothing really screaming to me that we have a tornado here, but there certainly is some rotation. You see the rotation detector towards the top of your screen. We have three different categories. You have a green, a red, and a yellow. The green indicates moderate rotation. The red indicates strong rotation. The yellow indicates extreme rotation. Notice we have some greens here. They're near Truman, Arkansas. So even though, as far as the tornado warning is concerned, we don't have any sort of confirmation of this or that it's necessarily on the ground, still a good idea as a safe than sorry measure to get into the safe place right now. We're talking about the safe place here across really anywhere. Get into the middle of your house. Get into that sturdy location. Put as many walls between yourself and the outside world. In an ideal world, you want to have sneakers on. You want to have a flashlight, have a helmet, or at least some blankets or pillows to be able to put over your head and protect yourself here. And try to put as many just walls between yourself and the outside world. That's the most important thing. If you live in a mobile home, especially as soon as you get a tornado warning, you got to get out. You can't mess around with that because it is not safe to be inside of a mobile home when it does come to any sort of tornadic activity here. So, Ron, this kind of really ramped up here pretty quickly.
It did.
I know that you and me were kind of thinking, all right, we're in pretty good shape right now. And, you know, don't get me wrong, compared to what this could have been and still what it can be, you know, we're still dealing with at least that one tornado warning, and I see at least 2 severe thunderstorm warnings here locally.
The good news is they canceled the tornado warning that is for Dyer and Gibson County. The bad news is that storm is still cooking. And as a matter of fact, just in this little area right here, take a look at the number of lightning strikes. That's an indicator of how strong a storm can be. 610 strikes of lightning. I'll zoom in just a little closer. Let's see if there's any hail in there because we have had some reports of some decent sized hail, especially into parts of northeastern, north central Arkansas. Right now, this looks really more like a wind maker, but checking out the potential for hail in here, I see some pockets of smaller hail right there around southwestern Gibson County. A little bit moving on through Crockett County, right around a ½ an inch in size overall, even into northern Haywood County. It looks like just to the north of Brownsville, just under an inch in size. But the storm itself moving on through right now, and the severe thunderstorm warning associated with it, that is going to go until 1:45. Carroll, Crockett, Gibson, and that is also going to include, I do believe, Madison County. Yes, indeed. So Madison County included in this. So let me put this back on here. We'll clear it off. I'm going to put another track on this because that line itself, I think that's really packing a punch as it comes through. So let's track it. That one's moving at about 45 to 50 miles per hour, I do believe. We'll take it on through the Polygon. That'll move into Milan at about 112, Medina right around 117. Then it gets into Gilmore at 125, Huntington at 132. Should take it outside the coverage area. Wildersville at about 147. Lexington 154. It'll move into Halliday at 157 and then into Darden, really just taking it closer to the Tennessee River Valley. But something to keep in mind here is that this whole line is going to continue to push to the south and southeast. So areas that have seen nothing in the way of precipitation through the day Monday and so far tonight, you're in for this line to come on through. But it is showing some signs of breaking up to some degree, especially back to the west. And I think as we get on into the remainder of the late and overnight hours, we could see this gradually make its push towards the Tennessee River Valley while this section of the storm starts to weaken to some degree and come on through. But that little cell back there that's just outside of Poinsett and Cross County, that's worth watching. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and zoom in on that because it is starting to look like it's upticking just a little bit, and I'm starting to see a little bit of an inflow notch in there too. So with that, let me hit that with the scope. You see that little area right there? We may have a tornado warning coming for that. We'll watch it. Right now, some broad scale rotation. Doesn't look too tight, but as we go back and just look at the NEXRAD imagery itself, you can see that little inflow notch. So this whole thing trying to push to the south and east, that southerly flow coming on in, but as it's trying to move to the east, southeast, you start to see a little spin in there. So that could be packing a punch. Let's see if there's any hail in there too. So, oh yeah, looks like we could see close to an inch in size. Yeah, about 8/10. As a matter of fact, let's just go ahead and take a slice of this storm. Even though it's outside the coverage area, still think this is going to have the potential to hit Cross County before the night is over. Right now, this still has some height on it. Eric, looks like tops, precip tops on this, not cloud tops, but just checking out the precipitation. It extends up to about 30,000 feet, and right around just under 10,000, maybe about 5,000 to 6,000 feet, At the very least, there's some extremely heavy rain in there, maybe even some small hail. That's what you see, that little area in purple right now. So we've got a lot of activity, but most of it at this time is confined to northeastern Arkansas and extreme northwest Tennessee, and primarily for areas along and north of the 40 corridor. But that whole line, again, trying to make that push to the south. And that's what it's going to look like as we go on through. Let me go ahead and hit Futurecast one more time. It is initializing very well. It's showing the brunt of this really coming on through West Tennessee between now and about 1:30 in the morning. Then we go from 1:30 until about 3. All indications are this system's going to be moving on out. There is the possibility, and as a matter of fact, one forecast model was even showing this holding together south of 40 and moving on into northern Mississippi. Right now, this is the graph forecast model, and I think it's got a pretty good handle on it and has done well through the overnight hours. But we got a lot of wind in and around the area to contend with, and even though we're only dealing at this time with one active tornado warning, we still have a tornado watch for the entire area. This is going to go until 5 a.m., and it does include Memphis and Shelby County. Hopefully these storms move out by 3, and we see a calmer pattern emerging, but the threat still remains simply because that line is continuing to push to the south and southeast. So a lot going on right now. Again, one more time, we'll go over and take a quick look at all the active warnings we have in place at this time. So severe thunderstorm warning right now for Carroll, Crockett, Gibson, and Madison counties until 1:45. That's for the storm that's just now beginning to move on through Gibson County. Dyersburg, I think you're in good shape now as a calmer pattern should start to set in. Just to the west, however, we've got a severe thunderstorm warning for Craighead, Dunklin, Lauderdale, and Mississippi counties as that's still moving on through northeast Arkansas. And then a little closer to home, in northeast Arkansas, we still have the one active tornado warning that is still in place right now. I think we're likely going to see this fizzle out, I do hope, but it looks like it's trying to hold together to some degree. But right now we still have the tornado warning that's in effect for this. That is going to go until 1:15, so we got about another 2 minutes on that. I'm not sure, I haven't checked the National Weather Service chat to see if they're going to extend that.
The tornado warning, they are going to, they will likely, so obviously likely subject to change here, convert that over to the severe thunderstorm warning, or I think just kind of make a bigger one.
Well, severe thunderstorm, the polygon for the tornado warning and the severe thunderstorm warning kind of overlap right now as it's kind of continuing to push to the south and southeast. But as you were looking at just a moment ago, Eric, it's that little area right there. That's where we could see another little inflow notch develop. And we could see another tornado warning coming into play with this, although I'm a little encouraged by what I'm seeing right now. Let me hit this with the scope, and then I'm going to throw it over to you to see what you're looking at over there. I've been kind of watching your work as I'm doing this. It looks like broad scale rotation overall. So nothing ominous, but at the same time, there is still the potential for some straight line wind with this. And look at the turbulence. So this is, we call this spectrum width, all right? It's turbulence in the atmosphere. It's where we're seeing warm air and cold air. So warm air is rising, cold air is sinking, and they're in close proximity to each other. When that happens, you can get some very strong wind, and there's a line of it right there that's coming on through. So I think that's what we're looking at right now. This is starting to turn into more of a very strong wind, heavy rain effect. By the way, we haven't even checked out rainfall rates just to the north of that area. We're looking at rainfall rates north of Truman, close to 4 inches per hour. Let's slice that and see if there is see if there's any hail in there. I think there very well may be.
So if that's set on top of you for 15 minutes, there's a quick inch of rain.
Look at this. Here's what's going on. You see that little area in purple right there? That's hail. That's a suspended hail core at about 20 to 25,000 feet. So as it's falling through the atmosphere, it is melting. So that is contributing to the very heavy rain that we're seeing. I don't see any indications of hail at the surface there, but what that is doing is it melts. That is really starting to produce a a lot of very heavy rain. And Eric, we even had forecast models that were showing this system coming through and dropping anywhere from 1 to 3 inches, some areas possibly even higher. And I think you're looking at that camera. What is that? Is that Crockett County again?
Yes.
Right around Alamo?
Indeed, Ron.
Check that out. Man, that is lighting up. And that whole line really, just all the way from eastern Arkansas through northwest Tennessee, looks just like that.
Yeah, and this is starting to be the backside of the main line that did move on through. So the fact we still have as much lightning as we do and as heavy of rain as we do, it's still pretty impressive here. And by the way, Ron, Kincaid Gooch Voice Studio. That's what we were talking about earlier. Yeah.
That's what we were looking at. Yeah, my friend Keith Billingsley.
Right across the street there on Highway 54 and North Bell Street. All right, so just want to show you guys exactly what we had going on over into Alamo and Crockett County right now. Worthwhile to note, do want to give a shout out to John Pinto. He's been given a lot of information here, gives us access to this camera. He did know that there was marble-sized hail over here in Alamo.
Great EMA director, by the way.
Fantastic, and he compared it to being about the size of dimes here. So worthwhile to note that, especially if you are a little bit closer or a little bit further to the southeast here, and eventually even headed towards Jackson, Tennessee. Got the precision tracker back on here as far as what we have going on. I'm going to dive into that since we were just talking about the general Alamo area. And these are still showers and thunderstorms that are sliding to the southeast. And this is still a severe thunderstorm warning that does include the far northern portion of Haywood County, the majority of Crockett County, further to the east into Madison County, as well as Gibson County. And this is in place, I believe it is until, I'm starting to lose track of time even, honestly, right now.
I know, I was doing the same thing. Well, you get in the late night hours. We've actually been sitting around waiting for storms since about 1:30 this afternoon.
Right, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So going to keep an eye on these, but if you know anybody that's over towards the Lexington area, further to the east into Henderson County, Carroll County, good idea to give them a first alert so they know what we have going on. I know that there's still a lot of people in Selmer, Sladen, Grand Junction, Senatobia, Coldwater. You have storm anxiety, and a lot of people just around the Mid-South do in general. Those communities right now are in good shape. I'm not saying the coast is clear. And quite frankly, at this point, nobody's 100% clear yet because we still do have that tornado watch for all the Mid-South until 5 o'clock in the morning here. And the wide view of things across the Mid-South, we have 3 severe thunderstorm warnings that are in place. The one that includes Haywood and Crockett County that I was just alluding to. One that's a little bit further to the west that includes Mississippi County and Lauderdale County, and the far southern portion of Dyers County. I think actually the first area that will be clear of severe weather, it will be the Missouri Boot Heel as well as Dyer County. But both of those areas have seen some pretty nasty storms over the past couple of hours. And then the third severe thunderstorm warning rather is into Poinsett County and the southern portion of Mississippi County. And that's what we're going to dive into right now, because I think if we were to have another tornado spin up, this would be the area that had the best chance of it occurring here. We're looking over towards the Lepanto region, to the north of Mark Tree, to the west of Osceola. Right now, there are some storm winds that are indicating at least some pretty strong turbulence going on right now. So if you look at this wide view of things, I know there's not really a whole heck of a lot to say, but I'm going to focus just to the north of Lepanto because there's there's really more than one, but there's a few bright green pixels that are popping up right here. And when I say that, that's an indication of some pretty strong winds that are in place here. If we're looking at some specific speeds that could be around here, remember, this isn't necessarily ground truth, but something that we could be seeing. This is indicating potentially some 80-plus mile-per-hour winds. And Ron, you're giving me a look like you want to say something here.
That's what we were looking at earlier.
Yeah.
Remember, we had storms this evening, and it was before midnight. It's probably closer to about 10. We were seeing wind indications a 100-mile-an-hour shear.
Correct.
Right around, I think it was Clay County.
Yes.
Maybe even a little farther west, Randolph, Lawrence County.
Correct.
In that
kind of in
area.
the vicinity of Batesville, Arkansas.
Yeah, so you've got winds at that height. That is mixing down, likely mixing down to the surface, and likely not at that speed, but as it gets down to the ground, it could still be packing a punch of about 50 to 60 miles per hour.
So Ron, I know you kind of like doing quick math in your head here.
Yeah.
The height of these winds, and we're talking about, just say it was reading 90 miles per hour. This is saying it was about 1,700 feet above the surface.
Okay.
Any idea what that mixing ratio would be that we could be seeing in Lepanto right now?
It's really tough to say simply because I would need a little more info on,
Right.
you know, what, just to do the math in my head, but I would speculate. You've got wind shear close to 90 miles per hour at 1,700 feet. Some of that's going to mix down to the ground. That's not a lot of depth, so you're going to see that coming down to the ground probably at about 50 to 60 miles per hour. That's enough to take down trees, which in turn can take down power lines. I think tomorrow morning we're going to wake up when the sun comes up and we're going to find a whole bunch of trees down right there around northeastern Arkansas, even near the Missouri boot heels. This is coming on through. Also, Eric, we had the school that caught on fire in Poinsett County. The lightning has been tremendous. As a matter of fact, sustained lightning strikes, anywhere from 2,000 to 1,500 strikes coming down, and that updates about every 15 minutes. So we've seen a considerable amount of lightning. So school fire that was in Poinsett County may have actually been started by lightning, and that is still a significant threat for this entire area. As a matter of fact, let me back up just a little bit. Again, we've got the tornado watch. I'm going to move forward now because it puts the lightning on here. Look at this. That is absolutely amazing. I haven't seen this much lightning with a line of storms in quite some time, maybe even going back to what we saw last year in early April. 1,700 strikes, and as we get later into the night, the atmosphere typically stabilizes to some degree, but we're actually seeing lightning strikes uptick. I think we went on the air just after midnight. Here we are at 1:22, and I had about 1,300 strikes of lightning at that time, pretty much sustained at that. But right now it's at about 1,700 strikes of lightning. So that is all moving off to the south, southeast. So lightning, also a tremendous, that poses a tremendous risk to property and electricity. We can have widespread power outages as that's coming on through. You get that many lightning strikes in close proximity, that can really have a significant impact on a power grid for an area. So I want you to be prepared. If you're up and at 'em with us late tonight, you're tracking these storms with us, just know that there is the possibility that you will lose power as it comes through due to the gusting wind and the tremendous amount of lightning. I am encouraged by what I'm seeing. This little area right here, let me zoom into this because it looks like some breaks are starting to form within the line, all right? So I'm looking for anything positive with this as it's coming on through. It looks like, first of all, it looks like this little area right here has weakened. Then we're starting to see a nice little break in here. This storm, however, still holding together and still packing a bit of a punch. I'm going to zoom in a little tighter on that. But these two areas of storms that are just to our west, Poinsett County and just to the west of that, they are showing some signs of weakening. However, this little cell right here, and Eric, this is what we were looking at a moment ago, coming on through Truman, that's still packing a punch right there. Let me put the next one. I'm going to do 2 tracks on this, okay? So we do have the severe thunderstorm warning in effect right now. This is currently in place for Craighead, Mississippi, Poinsett, and Tipton counties. That's going to go until 2 a.m. Couple of areas I want to track on this. Right now, I've got this little portion of the line right here that's kind of going to the east. Let me put this into motion for you one more time. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So see that portion of the line? That's trying to go that way. But then you've got this whole line that's trying to push this way. So all of this is going to start to converge right here, and that's where we could get a mix of winds and we could see a little more spin-up activity occurring. So let me clear this out. Let's track this whole line itself, and I'm going to track 2 areas, okay? The first one is going to be for this little line right here. That's where we had some rotation earlier that prompted the National Weather Service to issue a tornado warning. So let's track that to the south and east. So Alto, 125, Dyer, 132, Whitten coming in at 134. Then it should move into Junior, or Joyner, right around 142. Golden Lake, 146. Then gets into Corona, right around 152, just before 2 a.m. And 158, we'll see it move into Randolph, Drummond's at 2 a.m. So that's this little segment right here, all right? That's that line right there. Now I want to track this portion of the storm, which is going to the south and southeast. Eric, I'm coming to you in just a second because I know you got something good to look at over there. But let's track this right here, and we'll take that south and east. So Osceola, 128. Then Keys Point, 130. Marie, 136. Fulton, 144, 141. 147 into Golden Lake. Gilt Edge, 150, 155 into Covington. So that is that one. Just this really looks like the most ominous part of the storm itself. I almost put a huge track on here, but this right now, taking a look at everything we've got working, to me, that looks to be the worst of it all.
Agreed.
Just taking a look at the bigger picture. These cells are starting to move out of the Action News 5 coverage area. We get this to weaken, this weakens. I think we may be in much better shape as it approaches the Memphis metro, but we can't let our guard down just yet.
And I agree with you, Ron, as far as kind of really just to the east of Truman. That's probably where we see some of the worst weather conditions right now. Rivervale, another area that could be contending with some bigger hail and some stronger winds. It's kind of, if you were to, hold your fingers up and, I don't know, make a 7, I guess. Try where the webbing on on the 7 would be if you turn around and kind of, inverted it per se. So the good news is it's not a crazy sharp angle as far as, say, tornadic activity is concerned, because we have seen that at a sharper angle before. That doesn't mean that it still can't become tornadic, and that's why the National Weather Service, they have all these severe thunderstorm warnings with a tornado possible tag. That's kind of the younger sibling, per se, of a tornado warning. So, obviously, we'd rather not have a tornado warning. If we're going to have a severe thunderstorm warning, don't be surprised if all these do have tornado possible indications within them here. But the good news is, as far as the Mid-South is concerned here, we're not seeing any sort of tornado warnings right now. We still do have 3 severe thunderstorm warnings that are in place here. One that's really starting to depart Crockett County. Worthwhile to note, too, did get a report along Highway 188 and Friendship Eaton Road that there was a large tree down that's kind of connecting really Friendship and Eaton. So if you know anybody that's into that portion of Crockett County, Gibson County, kind of where both of those intersect here, even if it's tomorrow morning, be aware it could be a little bit of a tricky go there. If you're in Shelby County, we're in good shape. If you're in northern Mississippi, we're in really good shape. If you're in Lee and Phillips County, we're in good shape. If you're into St. Francis and Crittenden counties right now, you're in good shape. But with that said, we still have a tornado watch for everybody around the Mid-South. Doesn't make a difference where you're at until 5 o'clock in the morning here. So I know that a lot of us, we haven't necessarily seen a heck of a lot of activity ever since that tornado watch was issued here, but we are still under the gun with respect to that. Keeping a close eye on what we have going on with some of these numbers here. We haven't talked about the potential BTI numbers in a little bit, just to the east of Truman, Arkansas. This one is still indicating a 5.4 BTI.
That's rotating.
It is.
We got to watch that one.
I agree with you. I do think that one's a little bit old here as far as that specific number is concerned here, but even as it gets a little bit closer, it's still at about a 5. As far as what we have going on really in the heart of Mississippi County, there's still a 4.9 there. Have some 4.9s kind of scattered throughout Mississippi County. So keeping a close eye on those western portions of Cross County and Poinsett County, where we will start to see some showers and thunderstorms get close to Wynn, Arkansas, near Fisher. There's a 2.6 on the board right now. A little bit further to the west into Woodruff County and Jackson County. That's where you have some 4.2s as well. And we're keeping a close eye on some of these showers and thunderstorms that are a little bit further to the west, because we anticipate them to move to the east and potentially could affect Memphis and Shelby County. That's not to say that they're going to be, we can't tell you that they're going to be 100% confirmed severe thunderstorm warnings or something like that, but they're at least going to pack a little bit of a punch. And I wouldn't be surprised if you are up and at it this early, if you look out in the distance from your window, especially if it's to the north and northwest, that there could be some lightning around. Obviously, we don't encourage you to go check it out here, because lightning can kill you, even if it's from a long distance away. But Ron,
can you back up on that and see if I want to check those skits on that, Eric, to see if because we were looking moments ago, it seemed like that cell itself just outside of Cross County was weakening to some degree, but it was still showing a BTI of 4.9 on that, I do believe. We still have the tornado watch. This is the watch Eric was talking about. But can you back up 30, 45 minutes and let's query those skits and then see if what it was doing then and what it's doing now to see if it's weakening.
So you guys are going to have to take me at my word on this. This is going to be the same cell throughout it. As far as the BTI numbers, and we're looking, before we take this full here, just so we're all looking at the same thing, you have this blue box. The bottom number is what you're looking for here. It says BTI. When we take this right now, it has a 3.7 that's on it. And this is going back to an hour ago. If we start to nudge us ahead and see exactly that number fluctuate here, still 3.7, now a 4.01. Then we see it go between a 4.0 and a 3.6. So it's staying kind of consistently at about a 4. Then it bumps up to a 6.9. And then at one point here, it does even go up to it goes down to a 4.5, and then it goes up to a 7.2. So that's the highest number that I believe I saw with this. And then it falls back into the middle to lower 4s here. And that's where it's at right now, is a 4.2.
So it's pulsing up and pulsing down.
Correct.
That's what prompted the national. We haven't had a tornado warning on that yet, have we?
Correct. I don't believe so.
Okay. So the one that was coming on through Poinsett County, that was kind of doing the same thing.
Right.
Storm was pulsing up, pulsing down. In other words, it would gain some momentum and then it would weaken. So what you have is a lot of warm, moist air coming in to feed that main line, but then the downdraft is so strong on this that as it does come on through, that those colder winds aloft help to weaken it to some degree, but as it continues to progress east-southeast, it taps into more warmer air, it gives it another lift. So I do believe that's what we're seeing with this, and really this entire line, just pulsing up, pulsing down. But the overall trend, I do believe, is for that cell, as it continues to move to the south and east, to weaken. This is certainly weakened coming on through Poinsett County, but it's still going to bring some rain into Cross and likely into Shelby County. This area right here, that's where the strongest storms are right now. That's where we're seeing the heavier rain, and that is where we are seeing our severe thunderstorm warnings coming into play right now. Just to walk you through one more time. So we've got severe thunderstorm warning, Carroll, Gibson, Henderson, and Madison County until 1:45. Then just to the west of that area, we've got this severe thunderstorm warning right now. That is for Dyer, Lauderdale, Mississippi County. That goes until 1:45, so about another 13 minutes on that. We cleared that off. We've got another warning right here that goes until 2 a.m. Thunderstorm warning, Lauderdale, Mississippi, Tipton County. Tornado possible simply because, as we saw that coming on through Craighead County, northern Poinsett County, there was some significant rotation. I do believe we even had a confirmed tornado at some point.
Well, Ron, that cell
alone,
that cell alone has been confirmed
3 times?
At least 3 times.
That's what I thought, yeah, 3 times. And there are storm spotters up in that area, so they've been giving us a visual confirmation. We did have the confirmed warning from the National Weather Service as well. But Eric, we've not seen anything or heard anything in the way of damage.
The only damage that I could think of right now was obviously the, I believe that was an elementary school up in Pemiscot County in the Missouri Boot Heel. And then
I really think that was lightning.
I agree with you.
Because it was a fire.
Right, yeah. Exactly. And then we've had different reports of trees down throughout Crockett County. And I'd imagine there's probably more trees down aside from that too. But yes, as far as, tornadic activity is concerned, I don't believe that there has been any confirmed reports out of that. Keep in mind, it's obviously also 1:30 in the morning, so there's probably a certain amount of people who are like, you want to know what? We'll go look tomorrow and figure it out from there because they want to get a good night of sleep. With that said, not the best idea to still head to sleep right now because we still do have that tornado watch in place for the next 3.5 hours until 5 o'clock in the morning. If you want me to look at some things from a glass half full mentality, it's the fact that we don't have any tornado warnings in place here across the Mid-South, but we still do have 3 severe thunderstorm warnings that are in place specifically for the Mid-South. All these are along and north of I-40. If you're in northern Mississippi, if you're in Tunica, if you're in Hernando, if you're in South Haven, if you're in Olive Branch, if you're in Corinth, if you're over in Ripley, Mississippi, if you're in Holly Springs, if you're in Oxford, if you're in Clarksdale, West Helena, Mariana. A lot of these areas, it's been pretty quiet throughout most of the day. I know we had a couple of storms in northern Mississippi, but we've been in pretty good shape here recently, and I think we'll be in pretty good shape. I'm not going to tell you you're 100% in the clear, but we're in pretty good shape. But further to the north in Mississippi County, we're still keeping a close eye on some of those thunderstorms, and they still have a registration of a 5.3 of a BTI. As a reminder, and I know I say this a lot, but it's good to still reiterate it, 0 to 10, that's what the scale is. 0, don't have to worry about it. 10, to keep it G-rated here.
Yeah.
And a 5.3, obviously, that's splitting it right in the middle. So it's kind of, really could, but still can't. So we still got to keep an eye on that right now, Ron.
And I tell you, I want to do this. I know we don't have any tornado warnings, and our policy is generally we go on the air for a tornado warning anywhere in the Action News 5 coverage area, and we stay on the air until that tornado or the threat of life to property has come to an end. However, we only have severe thunderstorm warnings right now, but here we are. It's 1:35 in the morning. I'm not even really sure what our programming is right now, but it's most likely paid programming or a rebroadcast of an earlier newscast. But Eric, let's go ahead and stay on the air until 2 a.m.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
At the least, all right? So
Yeah.
most of these warnings are going to expire at 1:45. We've got the one warning that expires at 2 a.m. That is for Mississippi County, but this is going to start to come in close proximity to the Memphis Metro, Memphis and Shelby County. So I'd like to just kind of ride this through until it gets into Shelby County to see if there's going to be a warning, because also whenever a warning is issued for Shelby County, any type of warning, we come on the air. This is our most heavily populated county, of course. And look, it's not because we're paying less attention to Dyersburg or Corinth or Oxford or anything, but this is, again, the most heavily populated segment of our coverage area. So whenever something is coming through there, we want to give the first alert. But
Yeah, don't mess with some of my small towns and cities. You know I love them, Ron.
And that's why we're there tonight, because look, if you're under this, it is loud. I'm sure it is heavily raining. No tornado warnings, all right? No
Yes,
tornado
correct.
warnings, but we have several active severe thunderstorm warnings. This whole line, again, pushing to the south and southeast, so it's packing a wallop as it's coming on through. Now, it is also bringing some much needed rain to the area. We have in this area right here extreme to exceptional drought. And we've got severe drought over much of the area, so any rain that falls is certainly welcome. The damaging winds, the tornadoes, we can do without. Right now, just severe thunderstorm warnings, a lot of lightning in there, but the rain is certainly welcome. But I do want to stay with you just until we get this threat and see if there are any additional warnings that are issued. By the way, you've got the drought monitor, Eric, up there, and you can see where the rain is falling here. Take a look at what he's showing right now with the drought monitor. That's exactly where we need the rain.
No question about that, Ron. And the drought monitor gets updated weekly here. It officially comes out on Thursday, but it doesn't necessarily count. It's not going to account for this rain that's fall. I believe the cutoff day is midnight Monday to Tuesday. Ron, correct me if I'm wrong on that. So
I do believe so, yeah, so they calculate it all.
Right, so there's a little bit of it's
lag.
going to be a little bit convoluted per se when this does come out on Thursday. It's not going to account for this. With that said, though, the areas in red, that's where there's an extreme drought. The areas in darker red, that's where there's an exceptional drought. The areas that are in orange, goldenrod, whatever color you want to classify this as, that's where there's a severe drought, and that does specifically include Memphis and Shelby County. Further to the south for Clarksdale, Panola County, areas like Yalobusha and to Tallahatchie County, that's where there are some extreme and exceptional drought numbers as well here. So not as much rain has fallen to the south here. It's been more to the north. One thing that, Ron, we got to remember too, quite frankly, the fact that we didn't have a it's not even a 10 o'clock newscast. I guess it would have been, what, a 12:30 a.m. newscast?
Yeah, right after the basketball game.
There's still a certain amount that we have to talk about that Tuesday is also a first alert weather day as well. So I know at some point, before we actually probably curtail being done here with the severe weather coverage, we will allude to that as well, because that's really important. And this looks to be a little bit more widespread than necessarily what we saw today. And actually, since I'm talking about it right now, and don't get me wrong, there are severe thunderstorm warnings here across the Mid-South, but nothing is really standing out from me saying, oh my goodness, this is a life or death situation. Don't get me wrong, you should always treat severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings with respect. But it gets to a certain point here that if I start talking about the same thing over and over and over, quite frankly, you're going to tune out. And I don't really fault you for that here. So we got to talk about some different things. And one of those things is exactly the storm threat that we have diving into what is now Tuesday here, not only for the Mid-South, but just really throughout the region. So this is a look at the Storm Prediction Center and the outlook that they have specifically for Tuesday. Okay, the areas that are in orange, that's an enhanced risk of severe weather. That's a level 3 out of 5. The yellow is a slight risk of severe weather. That's a level 2 out of 5. And the areas in green, excuse me, that is a level 1 out of 5. For the Mid-South, right now we're split between having a level 3 and a level 2 out of 5 here. Specifically in Shelby County, naturally it's going to split us right down the pipeline here as to what we are in. And most of Memphis is into the level 3 out of 5, but you know, when you're on that level 3 out of 5, 2 out of 5, it's something to keep an eye on here. This is the first time I'm seeing this because these get issued typically at about 1 o'clock in the morning, and we went on here, I think it was about 12:20, give or take. As far as the tornado risk is concerned, the areas in green, that's where there's a 2% chance of a tornado. The areas in brown or dark red, that's where there's a 5% chance of a tornado. If we look at the wind, everybody's in this red, and that is where we have, I believe it's a 15% chance of some strong winds around here. So that is, that's probably going to be the biggest threat out of this. Last but not least, as far as the hail goes, that's looking to be more in the way of a 10% risk. So the wind's the biggest threat, followed by hail, and then tornadoes. So the timing of this, Chief Meteorologist Ron Childers, I believe he's cooking something up here, and he'll be talking about it momentarily. So I just want to kind of give you a little bit of a sneak peek what he'll be talking about here as we do dive over the next little bit. But
I'm going to bring you a forecast in just a second because we weren't able to get to that. So bear with me real quick, Eric. I'll have that out in just a moment.
No worries. You're good, man. What we still have going on right now, and by the way, I am meteorologist Eric Brill. You've been hearing Chief Meteorologist Ron Childers and myself ever since about 12:20 in the morning. We appreciate you tuning on in here for Action News 5 that was supposed to be at midnight, but got kicked to 12:20 because of basketball. And here we are at 1:41. We're trying to keep you guys safe here when it comes to severe weather around the Mid-South. The good news is if you do live in Shelby County, and really all the Mid-South for that matter, we still have a tornado watch that is in place until 5 o'clock in the morning. Obviously, it's 1:41. Well, obviously, it's 1:41. So that means we still have about 3 hours and 20 minutes before that warning is either set to expire or before it is set to come to a close here. If you're in northern Mississippi, you're in pretty good shape right now. You're in really good shape after dealing with a couple of severe storms earlier today. Lee and Phillips County, you're in really good shape too. Western Tennessee, it's very location dependent. If you're along and north of I-40, and especially if you're north of I-40, you've been hearing some pretty loud and nasty storms, especially Dyer County. The good news is we haven't had a confirmed tornado on the ground for, I'd say, about the past 45 minutes to an hour at this point. And I say it like that because we did have a tornado go up and down a couple of times here along the Poinsett and Jonesboro County lines. Excuse me. But that has since kind of relaxed itself a bit and it's calmed down a bit. And really the overall look of things is a bit tamer than what we were seeing even about a half hour ago. We're going to go on a little bit of a tour now, see what we have for some of those BTI numbers. If we take a closer look right now for Haywood County as to what we have with some of that information, if we could pop that up. Right now we have a 5.1 as far as the BTI scale. Let me take a drink of water because I keep coughing myself up. You guys are going to be saying, what in the world's wrong with you? Okay, that's significantly better. Sorry about that, folks. But right now we have a 5.1 with that number here, and that is headed towards the general Brownsville vicinity. Yet again, it's a glass half full mentality. It looks like these are trying to become weaker than stronger, but famous last words, quite frankly, with that. Into Tipton County. And by the way, if you're in Tipton County, I know it's 1:45 pretty much in the morning. Over into Atoka on Thursday, where they're going to have a little bit of a gathering here. We're going to talk about a bunch of severe weather elements, and that's over in Atoka here as we dive into Thursday at 6 o'clock in the evening. I'll be up there. So
you're going to give a safety seminar, right?
Indeed, that is the case
Awesome.
here. So I'm going to go say hi to a bunch of people.
What time is that and where?
6 p.m. over in Atoka. So looking forward to that here.
Where in Atoka will you be? Do you know?
That is, I believe it's at the town hall. When you give your forecast, I'll keep you up to date with that here.
Yeah, because I want people in that area to go to that.
Well, and especially too, obviously Covington going back to March 31st of 2023, that was an area that was devastated by a tornado. And hey, if you're in Covington right now, we still have some pretty heavy rain that's pretty much over you at this point. We're on that BTI number into Tipton County. It's at a 6, so that's not a nothing number here. So good idea or good call as far as staying on a little bit longer till at least that 2 o'clock time frame, just to make sure everybody stays safe because that's what it's all about. Mississippi County, we have some 5s there, some lower 5s for those BTI numbers. Yet again, scale of 0 to 10. 0, don't worry about it. 10, so we still have some fair numbers across the Mid-South when it comes to these BTI numbers, but they're kind of in funky locations with respect to seeing tornadic activity. A lot of this on the backside of some of those storms. As far as some of those winds are concerned, let me pop some of this off
I think
here.
It's more of a straight line wind event right now,
Correct.
quite frankly,
Correct.
as opposed to a tornado threat.
Correct.
Just from looking at that, and it is really starting to weaken significantly.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Let me walk you through this real quick, all right? Because look, Monday was a first alert weather day. Nothing really happened until right around midnight tonight. But today, Tuesday, here we are, it's Tuesday already. We're coming up on 2 a.m., getting close to it. It is also a first alert weather day. So don't let yesterday's or Monday's non-weather event make you shrug today off. Forecast models have been all over the place since last week, through the weekend, and through the day today in trying to resolve this. But there is still the threat that lingers through the day Tuesday. We've got a tornado watch in effect right now that's going to go until 5 a.m. I'm pretty confident we're going to see this canceled early, but right now, officially, for the entire Action News 5 coverage area, North Mississippi, West Tennessee, Eastern Arkansas, Memphis, Shelby County, until 5 a.m. Now, our severe weather threat today shifts to the south and west. We had the enhanced risk over much of the area, northern counties today. But notice, no matter where you are in the Action News 5 coverage area, there is the chance of severe weather. So don't just pay attention to am I in the enhanced or am I in the slight. If you are anywhere in the Action News 5 coverage area, the threat for severe weather exists today. All right, but we do have a level 3 from southwest Shelby County west into eastern Arkansas and into northwest Mississippi. That is going to remain in place. So a level 3, we're talking about from now until through Tuesday, the threat for damaging wind, large hail, we could see additional tornadoes, and I think the threat for localized flooding is going to come into play, especially as we get into Tuesday evening. Let's take a look at the line as it's played out right now. It was really stormy from the middle Mississippi River Valley into the Midwest and the Ohio Valley. Right now, this is the line that's coming on through. We're not seeing anything forming to the west, and the focus now is shifting off to the south and southeast. But we've got tornado watches that extend from Arkansas through West Tennessee, North Mississippi, into Middle Tennessee, Western Kentucky, and a little farther east, right around the Cookeville area. This is the line that's bearing down on us, and right now the bulk of the activity, as a matter of fact all of it, is along and north of the 40 corridor. It does show signs of weakening as it's moving south with each run, and you can see that line just falling apart. So I am hopeful by what I'm seeing there, and I think Futurecast has a good handle on it. From now until about 4 a.m., I think this line's going to be gone. We're still going to be dealing with some hit and miss showers, possibly to our east, back to the southwest, but I think a drier morning commute is coming your way, and by 8, mainly clouds. Can't rule out a stray shower or two in the area, but I'm not looking at the threat for severe weather, so that's good news. We will have clouds. It's going to be warm in the morning, right around 8 a.m., upper 60s to near 70. The average high for the date is 76. We're already going to be close to it by 8 in the morning. Then we get to around midday. Futurecast now showing little of anything. Earlier forecast model runs were showing the potential for another little disturbance to push in from the northwest. The latest update on this, not indicating that, but we don't let our guard down. Even into the afternoon, little in the way of activity showing right now in this model, but look at these temps, mid and upper 70s to near 80. We are going to have a good amount of warm air in place. We're still going to have that northerly wind. And then as we get into the evening, that's when I think we're going to see a cold front coming through. And this is the front that's really driving it, the whole system. And we could see storms coming in from the west and from the northwest, all converging right here on the mid-south between about 9 p.m. tomorrow night. And forecast models have been pretty consistent in showing that line coming through from 7 in the evening Tuesday to around 9, 10, 11 o'clock Tuesday night. And then we see this move on out of here by 11:30, 12 o'clock. But we're keeping that first alert in place. And look, by the time it's all said and done, we can see a significant, and I don't know why that did not update. We could see anywhere from about 1 to 2, possibly as much as 3 inches of rain. I think the time change has messed that up. But look, our storm threats tonight through Tuesday, damaging wind, that's the greatest concern. On a scale of 1 to 10, I think what we're dealing with tonight and we'll likely deal with again tomorrow evening, the threat for damaging wind. The tornado threat coming in at a 4. That's still somewhat significant. Also, the potential for flooding. Look, it's been very dry. If we get a lot of rain very quickly, we could have runoff, and flood-prone areas could experience some flooding, especially as we get into Tuesday evening. So I'd like you to stay home and just ride all this out as it moves through. But if you are going to be out and about at any time through the day Tuesday, get the app, the Action News 5 First Alert Weather app. If you scan that QR code, it'll take you to your app store. It's free for Apple and Android products. And look, when warnings are issued, and especially late night, early morning hours, you get your first alert right there on your phone or your tablet. So get the app. That interactive radar, very handy as well. I was looking at about a 40% chance of storms at noon and at 3, a 60% chance, but really, I think we're going to see it coming in later in the evening. So I need to update that graphic, but I do want to show you this because, again, Tuesday, first alert weather day, 70% chance. Right now, it looks like the greater probability latter part of the day and into the evening, 82 the high. But look at Wednesday. Should be partly cloudy, 74. Thursday, we're going to see clouds building back in. We'll still get some sunshine, a high of 70. Friday, 30% chance of rain comes into play, but look at that high, 68 degrees. A little bit of a blackberry winter coming into play as we wrap up the week and start the weekend. We're looking at highs Saturday only in the mid to upper range of the 60s. It will be partly cloudy, and right now the weekend looks dry. Sunday, partly cloudy and 72, and we'll find temperatures in the 70s as we get on into next week, mid and upper 70s for the most part. And right now it looks like a relatively tame pattern. And overall, this severe weather season has been rather calm, but here we are wrapping up the month of April with strong to severe storms tonight. So that's a look at your first alert forecast. Stay weather aware through the day Tuesday. In the meantime, let's go back to Eric Brill right now because you're checking out power outages with this stuff that's come through. I'm a little impressed by, I thought there would be more outages. I really did, especially given the amount of lightning that was out there and wind. So what do you got for us?
Ron, we got some great crews around here. I know meteorologist Patrick Ellis has alluded to before as far as some of the great crews that are around here as far as being able to put the power back on pretty quickly, and there is some truth to what he does say with that. But over into Madison County, there are apparently 5,000 customers that are without power. I don't think I have to reiterate this, but I'm still going to say, remember, if you come up to an intersection and the lights are completely out, you got to treat that like a stop sign. Do you just want to say that out loud here? And if it's a blinking red, that's also a stop sign. But as far as we have going on here when it comes to the wide view of things, Chief Meteorologist Ron Childers, he's been talking about it, how we still have those showers and thunderstorms here across the Mid-South, but we're down to only one severe thunderstorm warning that is in place here, and that does include portions of Tipton County, Mississippi County, and over into Lauderdale County. Let me just get the timeout on this. If this is still 2 p.m., that'd be ideal. I think it's a little bit later than that. Okay, no, it is until 2 o'clock in the morning. So, Ron, it kind of worked out well here until 2 o'clock in the morning. That's when this last warning is expected to expire. So we'll keep an eye on that, obviously. But there is still some really heavy rain falling right now into Kaiser, into Mississippi County, Osceola, Wilson. If your travels by chance do take you on 61, it's pretty wet right now. 61, it's a great drive. If you've never done that before, we've got a couple of state parks that are over there that are beautiful into Mississippi County. But this is going to continue to move itself to the east here. The good news is, at least, we're not seeing any sort of ominous detection that there's a tornado, and even just as far as severe weather goes. And I know a lot of people, you get apprehensive at night when you hear that we still have a tornado watch in place here. And don't get me wrong, you should still have notifications and a way to get notified and wake up if we do have tornado warnings that are around the Mid-South at any point of the day, but especially at night here. As Ron did allude to too, good idea to have the First Alert weather app on hand. But the severe thunderstorm warnings do look to dissipate here rather soon. We're going to keep our fingers crossed that that is the case.
2 a.m., I do believe. That was the last one right now.
Correct.
Nothing else issued. But again, the watch remains until 5 a.m.
Right.
All right, for the entire coverage area. But things are starting to look up a little bit for the Action News 5 coverage area. And right now, look at this. We've got this one warning that's in place, tornado warning that's in Middle Tennessee right now, and we've got the severe thunderstorm warning that is along the Tennessee River. But just taking a look at the Action News 5 coverage area, things are really calming down quickly. We're watching that little cell right there, Lauderdale, Mississippi, Tipton County. Tornado possible, but it is a severe thunderstorm warning right now. That is going to expire in about 5 minutes. So we're We're going to continue to watch this. We'll walk you through it and stay with you until the threat is gone for the Action News 5 coverage area, or at least in our mind it's gone. But look at this. Even the lightning starting to taper off a little bit. I think we were close to 2,000 strikes of lightning up to the Tennessee River. We're right around 1,000 right now. So again, another sign of weakening within the line. We'll put this loop into motion for you. Watch that push to the south and southeast, really starting to break up back here to the west. A little more stable atmosphere coming into play. And I got to tell you, had this line come through probably about another 2 or 3 hours earlier, it would have been a completely different scenario for our viewing area. So we have fared very well. The stronger storms, the heavier rain right around the Missouri-Arkansas border, but this was still packing a wallop as it was coming on in. Right now, however, that one active warning, that is for our coverage area, and that is for a small portion of Mississippi County and Tipton County, but it is showing signs of weakening. Let's take a look at the tops on this too. I'm going to slice this.
Hey Ron, worthwhile to note they're going to actually extend that warning.
Are they?
For Mississippi and Tipton counties for 60 mile per hour winds and 1 inch in diameter size hail. So I agree with you. It does look like it is weakening, but I think it's as, just a safe than sorry measure as far as I'm doing that.
That's probably a good idea. I'm trying to get a little scan on this, and unfortunately it won't let me do that. But you can see there's very heavy rain right there around Osceola. It's also right around Ashport. So there's a lot of very heavy precipitation in there, still some strong winds as well. And yeah, that new warning just came out. As a matter of fact, let's see where that's going to go. They just issued that for Tipton County. So Mississippi and Tipton County, that's going to go until 2:45 as that line continues to push on to the south and the southeast. And really wind, the biggest concern I do believe with this. Let me check out the hail view. I know I'm looking at a wide view here, but I'll zoom in just a little bit. There are a couple little pockets of some smaller hail. We were seeing some pretty good size hail earlier, but as we take a look right now at where the hail is, here, let me hit the info button.
Yeah, I believe Dyersburg, there was some reports of quarter-size hail. Over into Trenton, some half-dollar size hail. So there have been a couple out there hail reports.
Yeah, so right now we're looking at anywhere right around 1/2 inch. Mississippi County just to the west of 55. You get right there in northeastern Tipton County on the Lauderdale County border, just over 1/4 inch in size. But really the heavy rain, that's the biggest concern. Let me put the tools back on here. I also want to take a look at spectrum width just to see if we're seeing any indications of stronger wind. And you can see it. Can you point it out? Right there. Look at that little area right there. There's a pretty good little gust of wind coming on through. As I hit the loop on this, you'll see that line. Look at that. There's a little outflow boundary of it right there. So that winds from that main line coming on through and pushing out, making a little lift to moisture that's in and around the Memphis Metro and to Shelby County. But overall, this portion of the storm is what is moving off to the east-southeast. And Eric, it is quite possible that many parts of Shelby County don't get any rain with this.
Well, Ron, keep in mind, though, we did have some of those showers and storms move through before all this mess kind of moved through.
Stabilize the atmosphere a little bit.
And we did have some lightning and thunder that was embedded. Yeah, was it a lot of rain? No. Was it severe weather? No. But quite frankly, not having severe weather is a dang good thing.
That's very true. That really is very true. But right now, I'm very encouraged by the fact that we've got that one, really 2 severe thunderstorm warnings. All right, this one's going to expire at 2 o'clock. So we'll have 1 severe thunderstorm warning for the entire coverage area. Still packing a little bit of a punch, though, for storms that are coming into northern Hardeman County, McNairy County. You saw some activity earlier this evening as well. So that's going to continue to track in. Let me just put a little track on this. As a matter of fact, let me just go ahead and track this line, all right? Just to give you an idea of where this is going. Eric, I believe, what is this, 45, 50 miles per hour? It's moving off to the south, southeast.
I think they've been down to 35 miles per hour as far as report speed.
Then let me make a quick adjustment on my times.
Sure.
I'm going to track it. I'll give it a little heads up at about 40 miles per hour.
Sure. If you want me to, I'll take it back over here for a little bit while you're messing around with that. So
yeah, go ahead.
Sure. Wanted to pop up one of the RDOT cameras. That's the Arkansas Department of Transportation cameras. This is over in the Joyner region, specifically at about mile marker or exit 34. So obviously a lot of lightning out there, and you can and can't see the rain falling. But notice as far as the trucks moving on through and just the cars in general, they're still they're moving at a pretty good clip here. So, you know, obviously if it is raining, you should slow down a bit here. But at least from that perspective, it looks like everybody's doing okay from the perspective of getting from A to B. And, you know, nobody's going crazy with that. I guess there's good news there. With that said, though, what are we looking at and where were we looking at? Pretty much just to the west of where this hot spot is, where some of these purples and darker reds are indicated. That's where the heavier rain's kind of popping up right now here, just to the east of that. If I put this on a little bit of a loop so this way you could see the movement of the rain showers, they have been moving to the south and southeast. So where we saw that wet camera, I think we'll start to see that dissipate a bit here. But it's kind of interesting, Ron. So there's a green line that's out ahead of this main line here.
That's your outflow boundary.
And that's
right
what you
there.
were just making out here. You could kind of really see it at the end of it. But it is also trying to pop up some showers back behind it. But once that outflow boundary really kind of moves through an area, yeah, you'll get that strong gust of wind, but that severe weather threat does start to diminish itself a bit here. So
if it was going to do anything, it would give a little lift to the moisture in advance of it, that we could see something pop up, but we're not seeing that.
Right.
So what you said about the gust of wind, and then it just kind of weakens or kind of taps out the atmosphere for what's coming in behind it.
Right.
Outflow boundaries. I love watching those things.
It's not quite like the donut that we saw here going back to March. I know we're still trying to figure out what was going on with that.
out. Let me give you a track on this stuff, all right? So again, we've got one severe thunderstorm warning now. This is going to go until 2:45. Mississippi, Tipton County, you're included in this. So let's put a little track on this line right here, because that is moving off to the east-southeast. So Corona, 204, Drummond's 214, Mumford, 221, Millington, 229. At the very least, you're going to get a lot of heavy rain and a brief gust of wind coming with this. I think there's probably going to be a little small hail in it as well. Rosemark, 234, Bolton, 240, 249 into Arlington, at 253 into Longtown. So that's this portion of the cell right here, that little line that's right there. Now, this kind of makes a little bit of a bend, so let's track that portion of the cell itself, because we got a little bit of a broken line of sorts. So I'm going to track, I'll put a track right here. All right, we'll take that south and east like that. So Burleson 202, you may see a few communities pop up again in this, because I'm tracking, even though it's kind of one cell, the western side of it, and then that northern portion of it that's kind of digging to the south and east. Covington 208, Tabernacle 217, Atoka 222, Canaan Grove 227, Stanton at 234, and Mason 235. We'll keep a very close eye on the little bend right here as it's making its way into, looks like it's right around Ashport or so, because if we're going to see any spin develop, it's going to be in that little inflow notch right there. As this is trying to move in that direction, this is trying to go into that direction. You get that little cross section of winds that could create some issues, but right now I'm not overly concerned with it. Let's pan a little farther to the east right now and take a look at these storms that are working their way on through Hardeman or Haywood County, and now starting to move out of Madison County. So let's put a track on, first of all, this cell right here that's moving through Haywood County, and that's pushing off again to the south and southeast, about 40, 45 miles per hour. Stanton 202, Huntersville 209, 214, it will get into Hillville. Then Fayette Corners at 221, moves on into Cloverport at about 226, should get into Whiteville at 227, Tune at 233, and then it moves into Bolivar at 239. So that's that portion. But look, Clover Point's already getting a lot of rain right now. That's part of another little cell that's out in advance of it. So let's put a track on that, and we'll track it from Madison County and Chester County south and east. All right, so that's the direction that this is going to move on through. Henderson 204, Scotts Hill 215, should get into Milledgeville right around 220, Morris Chapel 226, Crump 239, Selmer 241, 253 into Nixon, 258. It will move into Mickey. So that's that entire line right here. Let me take us back to the home view. These storms that are over here moving on through Cross County right now, not really overly concerned by that, because it's just falling apart as well. So that too is weakening to a great degree, but it is going to bring some much needed rain to the area. I didn't mean to draw there. Let me put a track on this just to give you an idea of the rain that's going to be coming through within the next few minutes. So we'll track this to the south and southeast. And again, some of that may clip Shelby County, but I think Memphis proper, well, it's quite possible we don't see any significant rain at the airport. So McCrory, 205, Wynn, 218, Earl, 224, Crawfordsville, 237. Should move into Marion at about 246. We'll see it get into Forest City, 258. Memphis, 308. And then South Haven, right around 321. So that's what I'm looking at right now. We have the one active warning again. This is for Lauderdale or Mississippi and Tipton County until 2:45 this morning. This whole line, again, pushing to the south and southeast, but it's really starting to weaken considerably, and it's turning into a much needed rainmaker overall. So that's a look at the big picture. Eric, what do you got?
But keep an eye on that line of showers and storms into South Mississippi County. It's developing to the south, but it's moving itself to the east here. And it's not quite at the river yet, but I think we're going to get some rain into far western portions of Tipton County and into the northwestern portion of Shelby County over towards the Shelby Forest region. So we're keeping our fingers crossed, obviously, that we get some rain. We can obviously do without the severe weather. And I've been keeping an eye over my shoulder here because I could see our downtown camera. I'm going to pop that up behind me. Every now and then you'll see some lightning pop up here, and naturally as I pull it up here, well, okay, we got a couple of strikes that are out there in the distance. So keep in mind this is looking towards the north. The lightning's off to the west here, but that's developing to the southwest and it's moving itself to the east. So kind of interesting sort of movement that this line of showers and storms has right now. I'm going to put this on a loop behind me as well. You can kind of see that it's moving itself down to the south, or it's developing itself and growing itself down to the southwest, but it's advancing itself to the east here. So if you're over in Munford, if you're in Drummond's, I feel like Drummond's, anytime we have severe weather, it always gets, quite frankly, just tattooed by a bunch of hail. It just seems like it's truthfully notorious for that. If you're over in Millington, you're probably going to get some moderate to heavy rain for at least a period of time with this, and there will be some lightning. As far as the severe weather aspect goes, I think the wind is going to be a bigger threat than the hail, but I don't think it's really an over-the-top wind threat. Yes, it's warned for the potential 60-mile-per-hour winds, but this seems like it doesn't necessarily have its act together too terribly well, but you're always better off being safe than sorry as far as severe thunderstorm goes. Just stay away from windows, so this way you don't have to worry about any sort of debris. If there's a tree branch that falls and it comes through a window, it's obviously you're better off just staying away from it. As far as what we have for some of the potential stronger winds that could be embedded, this is indicating some 30 to 50 mile per hour winds, but we're also looking a few hundred feet up. Some of this is going to transition to the ground. So I'd say at best we probably have 25 to 30 mile per hour winds and maybe some 35 mile per hour gusts within there. So, Ron, I guess the good news is with this doesn't look to be too terribly ominous from a severe weather standpoint. Yes, we still have the warnings in place, but this isn't one of those situations that's really capturing my attention. I'm saying, we really got to watch out. I don't have the graphic up here right now either, but as far as the tornado watch goes, we're starting to trim that back a bit. Clay County, Craighead, Dunklin, Dyer, Greene, Henry, Lake, Obion, Pemiscot, Weakley counties, a lot of our counties that are further to the north, they've been eliminated from the tornado watch, so good news there. We still have it for everybody else, and that is still the vast majority of the Mid-South until 5 a.m., but the National Weather Service is clearly saying, hey, you want to know what? That severe weather threat, it is starting to diminish here, and that's obviously good news because that tornado watch, I don't remember what time it was issued here, but it's been in place for quite some time.
That came out this afternoon. Right around,
yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, Monday. Yeah, we're still here from Monday. But that came out, 3, 4 o'clock?
Something like that.
Patrick Ellis was in the building at the time when that was issued, and he's already back in the building right now.
Well, he loves being here, though, too. So.
He does. But the good news is things are shaping up. Yeah. All the counties that border Tennessee and Kentucky, you're removed from the watch. Dyer County, you're removed from the watch. The Missouri Boot Heel removed from the watch, as well as Craighead County, Clay and Greene counties and areas back to the west have been removed. Well, I think a couple of counties to the west of that. But areas really along and south of the 40 corridor. You still remain technically until 5 a.m., although the severe weather threat itself is really starting to diminish. And I do believe the polygon for the severe thunderstorm warning that was for Mississippi County, well, it's still there. So they still got Mississippi County in that.
It's just east of 55 now.
I'm looking at, okay, is it? So they did trim it back just
Correct.
a little bit.
Is that lightning tick up there?
Yeah, we're seeing look, there's a lot
That's
of lightning.
a lot of lightning.
Yeah, there's a tremendous amount of
gravy.
lightning. Look at this little cell right here. This is the one you were looking at a
Yeah.
moment ago. About to cross the river, 305 strikes of lightning within that. Let's just take a little 3D slice of that to see if there's any hail in it. Oftentimes, hail is a great indicator, or lightning is a great indicator of hail within a cell. Look at the top on this. The precip is still right at 30 to 32,000 feet as it's coming on through. As I move this forward, I'm looking for hail core. I'm looking for areas of purple, all right? So look at that rich colored purple right there. That's a hail core. It's extended from just above 5,000 feet to 10,000 feet. There's another one that's right here back to the west of that. There's another one that's between about, it's right around 15,000 feet. So as this is falling, a lot of it is melting before it hits the ground, but that's also translating into a tremendous rainfall rate just for that area. Let me zoom in just quickly, and I want to take a look at a couple of things just to see the hail indicator. There was some indication of some small hail in there just a little while ago, and then we'll look at the rainfall rate overall. So the hail threat itself, look at that. There was some big hail in there. Over an inch in size, absolutely amazing. About an inch to an inch and a quarter. That's going to skew the rainfall rates too. As a matter of fact, I think we're probably going to see some impressive rainfall rates with that. Look at that, coming down, it says 4 and just over 4 inches per hour. In other words, if that little portion of the cell sat on top of your home for 1 hour, you'd pick up, theoretically, 4 inches of rain. But because there's hail in there, not getting that much rain at the surface, but at the same time, there's a lot of moisture in the atmosphere, but some of that's coming down in the form of ice. And even just to the right around southern Mississippi County, still showing close to 2 inches of precip per hour. And a loop on this, showing that little cell coming on through and still packing a wallop. Let me track this one more time because I think I want to put a new track on that.
That's
right
moving.
now.
Yeah,
We'll
that's a
take
good
it
track.
just
I
like that.
track.
Yeah, that's a much better track for that. And again, it's quite possible Shelby County barely gets clipped by this.
But the thing is, though, Ron, that's still growing to the southwest. The tail on that still just keeps extending further to the south. And I think that part's going to hit Shelby County. That heaviest rain's probably going to stay north and really kind of engulf Tipton County.
And maybe clip northeastern Shelby County. You get around Arlington, maybe even as far south and east as Lakeland. That's very possible. Mason, Tennessee, that's coming your way. But let me show you some of these communities that are in the path. Randolph, 215. Drummond's, 218. Beaver at about 222. Atoka, 230. That's coming your way. Brighton, 232. Rosemark, 240. We'll see it get into Canaan Grove at about 243. So that's that portion of the storm. And just taking a look at the big picture here, overall, that seems to be the worst of it right there. This activity over here, just to our east, mainly showers that are coming down. Some heavier rainfall, of course, associated with it, but it is non-severe from Haywood County on through Madison County. No warnings for Fayette, Hardeman, or McNairy counties at this time, but you are seeing some pretty good rainfall. Haywood County, look at this, near Brownsville, it's coming down at right around 2.7 inches per hour. You get into northern Hardeman County, I'm going to get right there on the Hardeman-Madison County line. Look at that, close to 3 inches per hour. I want to see if that's being skewed by hail to any degree. I don't see it, but let's take a 3D slice of this and let's just see where the tops of these storms or the tops of the precipitation are making their way. They're coming in. You got the 30,000 foot mark right here. So there's the line for 30,000 feet, just under it. So we've got precipitation that's originating from about 25 to 30,000 feet, and that is coming on down to the surface. I see no hail in there, but I see some deep, rich red colors. That is an indication of torrential rain. And right now, that's exactly what the area needs. So here we are, 2:14 right now. Eric, we've gone a little past our 2 o'clock. What do you say we just go ahead and track this through till about 2:30? You good with that?
Well, we'll see at 2:30 turns into 3 o'clock, but yeah.
Let's hope not.
Right.
But I mean, we keep inching it out. Look, it's the overnight hours. If you're up and at 'em, and right now, if you're under this, you're probably turning on the television saying, hey, what's going on where I am? Tornado watch again remains in effect. So right now with you, all of the lightning still in place. So at the very least, it is loud from Lauderdale County through Haywood County, Tipton, Mississippi County, south of Blythefield, closer to Osceola, and even getting a little loud around Cross County, where we're seeing a pretty good amount of lightning coming into play with that little cell right there. So I just want to ride it out for anybody who may be up and at 'em. I mean, I don't have to be anywhere right now, so we might as well track these storms. The good news, I do want to emphasize, no active tornado warnings. We have one active severe thunderstorm warning for the coverage area, but a lot of torrential rain just now starting to move south of 40 in Madison County here in West Tennessee. McNairy County, you're in the path of that as well, so you're going to get some heavy rain coming in out of it, but I don't see anything in the way of warned storms. So good news there. We'll go for another 14 minutes, take you up to about 2 a.m. for any of you late nighters who may be up and at 'em and just tracking storms with us. So that's what I'm looking at there. Eric, anything catching your eye right now?
Been watching the camera over my shoulder for in downtown Memphis, and I'll pop it up behind me so this way you guys can see it as well.
Yeah, I've been noticing that too, because the flashing on that has been something else. So we're looking to the north.
Yeah.
It's from our high five camera in downtown. You've got Tom Lee Park there in the center of your screen, downtown Memphis there to the right. Look at the flashing light.
And there's I'm going to assume it's a delivery plane that's going on by right now too. So I'm sure they're having a heck of a time trying to land here with a little bit of turbulence that they probably went through. But quite a bit of lightning that we do have right now yet again, as Chief Meteorologist Ron Trillers did allude to. This is moving, or this is looking to the north, and this is a line of showers and storms that is still severe warning that's moving from the northwest to the southeast, or from Mississippi County near Joyner and Wilson, Arkansas, over into, I'll call it the general region of Munford, Tennessee, over towards Covington as well. It is severe warned for the potential 60-mile-per-hour winds and 1-inch in diameter size hail. Just for the sake of comparison, that's approximately the size of a quarter. So, you know, it's hail that can absolutely cause damage here. It's not necessarily going to cause widespread chaotic, sort of events, but it still is severe hail that is a possibility. And you saw Chief Meteorologist Ron Childers, some of the different things that he was looking at, even alludes to that being a little bit bigger than that. So quite a bit of lightning that is going on right now. It looks like the bulk of this shower and thunderstorm activity will stay just to the north of immediately Memphis, but some of it still could scrape Shelby County over into Millington, into the Shelby Forest area, Dixonville, Black Cat, Munford, some of those areas here into western portions of Tipton County, where we could be experiencing still some severe thunderstorms, Gilt Edge, Beaver, Flatwood, Drummonds. I'm telling you, Ron, every single time that I feel like we have severe weather, Drummonds at some point, I know they're going to get called out here, because they always get some sort of severe weather in western Tipton County.
And look, we're staying on late with you tonight, even though there are no active tornado warnings at this time, but here we are in the very early morning hours. This part of the country has a higher propensity for deadly nocturnal tornadoes. A big part of that is due to the heavily wooded area that we live in right now, and also the fact that the topography and storms coming in this time of the night oftentimes pack a punch. It was warm, it was muggy through the day Monday. It was very windy as well, so we had several elements that came into play. We had a high, I do believe, of 84 degrees on Monday, so that was almost 10 degrees above our average. So there was a lot of instability, a lot of available moisture. We had the wind, all the elements were there. And yeah, we did see a few tornado warnings tonight. Fortunately, we've not had any confirmation of damage from tornadoes, but I just saw from an EMA director in Benton County, right there near the Tennessee River, that's Benton County in Tennessee, several trees down in and around that area. So the heavy winds have created some big problems. We do know that there was a fire at a school in Pemiscot County tonight. I do believe that was probably due to the tremendous amount of lightning. At one point, there was about 2,500 strikes of lightning just within a band of storms that were coming on through. So lightning has been an issue, wind has been an issue. The greater threat for the tornadoes, or the greater area for the tornadoes, has been northeastern Arkansas this evening. We did see a couple of debris signatures outside of our coverage area, which was an indication that there were some that there was a confirmed tornado on the ground, I believe, and we even had visual confirmation. Am I right,
Correct.
Eric? So there was visual confirmation there. It's going to be interesting to see how things play out as the sun comes up in the morning. In the meantime, we've got this line that's continuing to push to the south and southeast. That is not rain right around the Memphis metro. We just called that an inversion, a little moisture the radar's tapping into. But that line's still holding together. One active tornado or severe thunderstorm warning right now. That is for Covington. Here we are at 2:20. We'll stick around for another 10 minutes just to ride this out, make sure nothing else pops up. We'll keep a close eye on this little area back here. That is, again, looking like it's wanting to ramp up a little bit, Eric. You were noticing that a moment ago. Are you looking at anything on, I think you're zoomed into that on the precision tracker, aren't you?
So Ron, this is actually still the one that's actually approaching Tipton County and pretty much right on the Mississippi River. So the BTI numbers on this, they just won't quit. They've been hanging in that 5 range for quite some time. They're at a 5.7 right now. 0, don't worry about it. 10, uh-oh. And obviously a 5.7, it's, it's in the middle there. So
yeah,
just keeping an eye on that just as a safe than sorry measure. If we look at any of the storm winds that are on here, nothing's really kind of capturing, I think, any of our attentions from the perspective of, tornadic activity. With that said, though, we're still just going to keep an eye on it because, quite frankly, that's literally our job, is to keep an eye on things and keep you guys safe out there. But nothing's really captured my attention. I still think that there's probably some hail that's embedded here right along the Mississippi River. This is indicating, this is saying ping pong ball size hail. Ron, if I had one criticism towards the precision tracker, though, it's the fact that it does overdo the hail a little bit. Aside from that, it is a fantastic piece of equipment that we do have here at Action News 5. But
I think it's tapping into that hail aloft. Let me
That's fair.
slice it. Let me put a 3D slice on it. All right. Let's come back over to me and let's just track that little portion of the storm right there. All right. So let's just put it a little bit. Look at the lightning in that.
that's still so impressive.
I know, and it's holding together right now. Again, look at that little view right there. 202 strikes of lightning. Again, we've got the severe thunderstorm warning. Tipton County, southern Mississippi County. It goes until 2:45, but there may be, and just an indication of the rainfall rates itself, look at that little area right there, west of Covington, right there around 51. Looks like to the west of 51, I should say, but it's coming down at more than 4 inches per hour. That's an indication. When you see a number that high, that's just somewhat of an indication that, yeah, there may be some large hail in it. So what do? We come through, we take a little slice of the storm itself, and we'll tilt it. The tops on it definitely tapping into colder air aloft because the top of the precipitation is at about 30,000 feet. Cloud tops are probably closer to 40,000 feet. But let's move this forward. And what I'm looking for, and look, you can even see a little flashlight there, areas of purple. Let me be very careful as I move this here because it's changing with each scan of the radar. But there's a little flash of purple in there. And you can kind of see some of these areas. Here's what I'm looking at, these little deeper shades of red, even little shades of magenta, purple right there. That's an indication that there may be some hail within that itself, but not seeing anything significant, but there could be some suspended hail cores within that allow that higher precipitation rate to come on through. But overall, I'm not seeing a big hail maker in there, not by any means. But again, I would be willing to bet that there's at least some pea-sized hail on the ground in a couple of areas in and around that site itself. So that's what I'm looking at there, Eric. Let me try one more time to just take a look at the spectrum width on this, just to see where the greater amount of turbulence is. It still looks like it's in that area. So some strong gusting winds likely,
Yep.
especially as it starts to come on into Crittenden County. That may even be a little outflow of that. Let's check the next rad here. Yeah, there's a little outflow band right there. But this is the area I was watching right here. And taking a look at the spectrum with there, I'm not seeing a lot of activity. I'm going to hit the scope on here because that'll give us an idea of the where the stronger winds may be. A little bit of broad scale rotation, but we're also in very close proximity to the radar site too, so that can skew the data to some degree. But overall, again, very heavy rainmaker with some hail in it. You can see where the stronger winds may be right here. We're looking at velocity, all right?
Hey,
so this is
Ron.
basically wind speed and direction. Yeah, what do you got?
We got a new severe thunderstorm warning coming for Cross and Shelby.
I got it. Yeah, and it's going to be for that little line that's back there to the west?
It's Cross and Shelby, though, specifically it was noted here, and obviously it's going to populate itself shortly. So Crittenden's going to be in this. I'm intrigued to see exactly where this is going to be, but I think it was in the area you were just tracking.
Okay, well, let me zoom out a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's take it back to home. So right now we've got the one active warning.
Right.
Again, this is for Mississippi, Tipton County. That goes until 2:45. Here we are at 2:25. Are they talking about this area right here?
It
Cross
should
it,
be
and there
popular.
it is.
There you go.
That's it. It just popped up. So that's going to go until 3:30. So we're going to stick around a little longer. What do you say, huh?
So
we've got that severe thunderstorm warning right now. I really don't see that overall. I think this little cell right here is more potent than this, but that was showing some signs of ramping up because that's what we were looking at just a moment ago.
And Ron, worthwhile to note that these are both now warned for 60-mile-per-hour winds
Okay.
and 1-inch diameter size hail. So it's both 60 and 1 right now. Just want to point that out here.
Let me put a track on it, all
Yeah,
right?
go
So
for it,
let's take a quick look at the motion of it, the general speed and motion. Again, the severe thunderstorm warning right now, Cross, Shelby, St. Francis, and Crittenden counties, that goes until 3:30 this morning. We'll put a loop on this and show you the movement of the cell.
East
It
at
is kind
45.
of moving, and it's kind of a, east-southeast
Right.
of sorts. But let me pan over just a little bit. We'll go back this way with it. And then I'm going to stop it. And we're going to put a track right here. 45 miles per hour. Was that it, Eric?
Correct, Ron.
All right. So let's do this. I'm going to take it all the way back to here. And we're going to kind of go east-southeast with it.
That's a good track, yeah.
I'll
I like
follow
that.
along the polygon to some degree. We'll take it outside of it as well. So we were thinking at some point Memphis doesn't get any rain out of this possibly, but now it looks like this portion of the storm, here we are right here, that's what's coming on through Cross County right now. As that projects south and southeast, that's going to bring this on into Earl at about 229, Shelby Forest 247. Then it moves on into Marion at 253, 303 into West Memphis, 317 into Memphis, Germantown 330, then into South Haven 339, Olive Branch coming your way just before 4 a.m. right around 351. So that's what we're looking at with this cell right now. And again, this whole line making that march to the south and southeast, but coming in right now at a much weaker position than it was when it was in northeastern Arkansas. Let me tell you something, this was really packing a punch tonight as it came through Randolph, Lawrence, Greene, Clay counties, even into Craighead County tonight. But right now, the remnants of this storm, atmosphere is still stabilizing to some degree as we get a little closer to sunrise. That's when we really reach our more stable point of the day. Then we get that daytime heating, we'll see things ramp up. One of the things I'm thinking about though, Eric, we didn't see a lot in northern Mississippi today. All right, we're still going to warm up as the afternoon progresses. We're going to bring in now enough moisture. We'll see some evaporation during the day. That could be the fuel to make Tuesday afternoon, evening, a little more volatile than what we dealt with today. And as a matter of fact, you and I talking over the weekend and even since Friday, I really thought Tuesday was a greater threat for severe weather. Patrick Ellis made the call this morning to declare Tuesday a first alert weather day in addition to Monday, and I think that was a very good call. And I think what we're going to watch tonight could prove just that.
Right. Hey, that doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise you either. Patrick's pretty dang good at what he does here. But, you know, I think the way that we looked at today was that the overall storm potential was greater or higher today. But as far, or I guess Monday now at this point. But as far as Tuesday goes, a bit more widespread and throughout the entire Mid-South here. So, you know, there's a good chance that we're going to be doing this yet again here in 24 hours. And we really do appreciate you guys tuning in. It's obviously 2:30 in the morning. And the fact that you chose us here to watch us as far as our coverage goes at Action News 5, seriously, we appreciate that. Thanks a lot, guys. But we still do have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings in place. It does include Shelby County and the western half of Shelby County. So we're looking more towards the Raleigh, Fraser, Memphis area and to the Shelby Forest region. This also does include Crittenden County if you're into West Memphis, and into Cross County here, or St. Francis County, Cross and St. Francis counties here. I do want to talk about Wynne, Arkansas, because obviously a little over 3 years ago at this point, you know, there was a destructive tornado that did move through Wynne, Arkansas, and eventually did track towards Tipton County and over towards the Covington area. And if you're waking up right now, you know, you might have some PTSD as far as what happened then, what do we have going on now. You do have a severe thunderstorm warning in place in Wynne, Arkansas. And heck, there was an EF2 tornado that happened a little over a year ago at this point in the Fitzgerald Crossing and Wynne area as well. But you do have a severe thunderstorm warning in place. It's raining pretty dang good right now. There's probably some small hail that's embedded. And there still is some wind that is around here that is still stronger. Nothing's really capturing my attention, making me think that this is going to escalate significantly here. Don't get me wrong, if you're hearing the rain fall, obviously it's a little bit ominous. You hear the light, or you hear the thunder and see the lightning as well. But as far as just an overall threat goes, this isn't something that's really kind of making me think that, you know, you better get to your storm shelter right now. It's still a severe thunderstorm warning, and you got to treat that with respect here. But, you know, as far as tornadic activity is concerned, I'm not seeing anything really get my attention. So there is at least good news there. As far as we have going on with the wide view of things here when it comes to the radar across the Mid-South, those 2 severe thunderstorm warnings that are in place. If you see me kind of messing around with the radar right now, you're getting rid of some of those light greens. It's just garbage, essentially. It's popping up on the radar. There's nothing to look at there. It just gets rid of some of the clutter that is around. But the heaviest rain right now is into northwestern portions of Shelby County, over towards the Shelby Forest region and Millington. This is getting a little bit closer to you right now. Along Highway 59, this is getting closer to the Mississippi River. A couple places that have seen some really heavy rain over towards the Cuba region. A little bit further to the north into Drummond's, Dixonville, along Highway 59 near the Turnage grocery store that's near the gas station along 59 if you've been in that part of the Mid-South, over towards the Randolph Community Church. That's another area that's seen some pretty heavy rain and some thunderstorms too. You see Randolph on the middle of your screen pretty much right now, starting to get on the backside and some drier weather conditions. Certainly wet in Beaver. No doubt about that. That was a little bit wet right now. So the western portion of Tipton County, starting to see some of the heavier rain into the northwest corner of Shelby County. So not the nicest early morning time frame that we have going on right now into the Mid-South. But at least the good news is, Ron, we don't have any sort of tornado warnings here across the Mid-South.
I'm sitting here looking at some of the comments on our Facebook page right now. Kristen Holloway says it is storming bad in Covington right now. Yeah, it is loud. You are under a severe thunderstorm warning at this time. A lot of heavy rain, a lot of lightning. Fortunately, no tornadoes. The winds, I'd be interested to know what your comment is, if you have any comment on winds, because the National Weather Service was issuing, thinking about 60-mile-an-hour winds
Correct.
with this, but that was more of an estimate on their part. They were waiting for it to get a little closer to the radar site to be able to get a little better info on it. But overall, yeah, it is loud, it is stormy. If you're under that right now, you're awake,
right,
wide awake, and that's why we're here tracking it with you. So that's what we're looking at right now. But I'm just going through some of the comments. Kelsey wants to know, she asked about 7 minutes ago, can Selmer go to bed? Let's take a look. First alert Doppler radar. Here's Selmer right here. So as we take a closer look, go ahead and pull me up full, guys. There you go. So Selmer, you've got some heavy rain coming through, or McNairy County, heavy rain coming through, but I don't see a severe weather threat with this. Right now, we're looking at basically scattered showers with some pockets of heavy rain. So I think you're in great shape to go ahead and hit the sack tonight and get a good night's sleep. And really, I think everybody that is from Hardeman County east, and that includes north central Mississippi. I want to keep a close eye on Fayette County as well as Shelby, Cross County, and even St. Francis counties, simply because we've got this line, and this line that's coming from Tipton County on through, now entering northwestern Shelby County and coming on through Cross County. That seems to be the area that's packing a little bit of a punch as it comes on through. Right now, again, the one active, so we have 2 active severe thunderstorm warnings. This one for Tipton County is going to expire in about 10 minutes, but this one that is for Cross, Crittenden, Shelby County, that's going to go for until 3:30. So we've got about another hour on that before it goes through. But Selmer, I think you are in good shape there. Michael asked about 15 minutes ago, what time for Shelby Forest? It's coming through right now. So let me zoom on into that and show you what's coming in right there. You see that little red band? I mean, that's an intense line of precipitation coming through. So let's zoom into it. Let's put a track on it. And let's show you what is happening right now in Shelby Forest. Look at that. That's just one little band right there. It's got some gusting wind in it. First thing I'm going to do is put a track on it. All right, we'll do a track, and then we'll just kind of map out some of the parameters within it. Let's go ahead and track it to the south and south. I'm going to take this down to Collierville. You think that'll hold together?
I'm going to be honest with you, Ron. I think it's going a little bit more east than that.
Do you?
Yeah.
Let me loop it. Well, I'll tell you what. Let me clear this out.
Because it keeps growing to the south, but it's moving itself to the east.
Well, it's just kind of doing that. You see? And that's that segment right there. That's what I'm looking at.
2 outflow boundaries that are clashing with each other and creating that lift.
Oh, we do. Yeah, that's where they come together right there. That could create some issues. But let me go ahead and put a track on that one more time. All right? So, and I'll give it a little more of an easterly progression, but it is still trying to go to the south-southeast. We'll take it in that direction right there. So Millington, 239. Fraser, 246. Raleigh, 249. Bartlett should get there right around 253. 303 into Cordova. Germantown, 310. Canadaville, 313. And then Collierville coming in there right around 319. Now, we've also got this little area right here. And I tell you what, let me track that outflow boundary, because this is what I want to watch. You see that little area right there, that dark green? That's an outflow boundary. The winds that are from this portion of the storm that's in northwestern Crittenden County, sitting a little outflow from that. And if I put this into motion here, you can kind of see that line. That's wind, all right? So that's a pretty significant amount of wind. We can even see the turbulence associated with it right there. So let's track it just along that line of turbulence for the outflow, because that's going to bring a pretty sudden gust as it moves on through. Proctor, 241. You'll get a gust of wind. That's going to be followed by some moderate to heavy rainfall. West Memphis, 242. Evergreen Valentine community right here in Midtown. That's going to come through at 249. 251 in Midtown. Memphis, 255. So inside the 240 loop at about 255. Whitehaven, 301. Should get into South Haven at about 307, and 310, we'll see that move into Horn Lake, Mississippi, as it continues to push on to the south and southeast. Eric, you're looking at storm threats right now that are for, I do believe, the Shelby Forest area. Is that what you're looking at near Millington? Let's check it out.
I'll give a tip of the cap to the National Weather Service here in Memphis. They've been kind of keeping an eye on a lot of different things. I mean, we all are here, obviously. But they kind of mentioned here, as far as in the Shelby Forest, that we could be seeing some pretty big hail. I do want to preface this by saying that this has a tendency to overdo the hail sizes. But this is indicating that we could be seeing some golf ball size hail going on right now. Golf ball hail is destructive hail. If this is coming from the sky, I mean, you know, if you go by a driving range, you're saying, man, I better not get hit by a golf ball. And that's at least a possibility here over to the Shelby Forest vicinity, and it's heading towards the general Millington area. Now, is it going to be that large as far as the hail goes? Can't say that necessarily. Is it possible? Obviously, it's not like Millington's too terribly far away. And if I clear this, and I want to kind of give this a little bit of movement here, once you start seeing these blacks and the whites pop up, and I'll stop this here at the current time, it's 2:39 here on what is now Tuesday morning. But once you start seeing these blacks and whites pop up, that's usually an indication of, I'd say, at least quarter-size hail that's going on. So it was right along the river, and now it's trying to move itself towards the southeast. So Shelby Forest likely seeing some very large hail. If you're in Millington right now, you know, it's obviously 2:40 in the morning. If you have a car, you know, there's a lot of lightning around, so I don't want to tell you to go move it because you don't want to get struck by lightning. Lightning is something that can truthfully kill you. But if you're over into Arlington, if you're in Lakeland, if you're in Egypt, you know, and if you have a carport or a garage, try to bring the car inside, because if nothing else, if you get hit by quarter-size hail even, that can cause some serious issues within it here. So certainly keeping a close eye on that. But that's some pretty big hail that's at least possibly falling here right now into the Shelby Forest region. Further to the west, Park and Earl, Wynn, all these areas that are along Highway 64 right now, Levesque, Fitzgerald Crossing, Fair Oaks Central, Ellis Chapel, Colt. Some of these areas, you're at least seeing some lightning in the distance, potentially hearing some thunder out there as well. This doesn't look like it's quite as big of a hail threat per se. You see the purples that are on your screen. That's usually an indication, I'd say, of some pea-sized hail that could be floating around there or falling to the ground there. So your first alert, if you're in Wynn, if you're in Earl, if you're in Parkin, some of those areas, Clarkdale, that's where there could be some pretty heavy rain right now. But the big thing right now, Ron, and this is starting to get really close to the radar site in Millington. That's why you see that there's this hole right now just around Millington. It's because the radar beam essentially can't be, it can't go shoot low enough to the ground per se to be able to pick up what's specifically there.
Silence, as we call it.
Right. So not a great situation there. But
so it's coming down in Millington. I'll tell you that. The wind is gusting at the very least. The rain is heavy, and there is probably some hail in there too.
Yeah, I think that's a safe assumption. Tell you what, folks, if you're watching us, you know, and you could be safe while you're doing it, if you're in Millington right now, as far as hail reports go, if you could go on to the Action News 5 Facebook page, send it on in if you can, you know, as far as the hail sizes. And I get it, you don't want to go outside and get hit by the rain or the hail. Trust me, you shouldn't do it. But after the fact, if you're able to collect some hail and try to compare it to something that's a common object. So I've been talking about, you know, pocket change as far as a quarter. That's a great thing to really compare it to. It's things that are common object sizes. Golf balls are consistent sizes. Pocket change, consistent sizes. Ping pong balls, consistent sizes. Good idea to try to utilize that stuff. I'm hoping there's no baseball-sized hail on there. That would not be a good situation. And if there is baseball-sized hail, get the heck away from. If you have a two-story building, try to get to the first floor, because baseball-sized hail, that can certainly cause some damage here. But you know, Ron, this is just not quitting. This little line that's kind of tailing itself down to the southwest here, and it's starting to really move into Shelby County, so into Egypt, into Fraser, into Raleigh. Some of these areas are going to be seeing some pretty heavy rain here shortly, and they'll probably pick up, I'd say, a quick 1.5 to 2 inches worth of rain too, because this band's only about 4 miles long, but it's just not moving a whole heck of a lot.
Yeah, that's true. Now look, a reminder once again, we still have the tornado watch that's in effect, okay? So we can't let our guard down just yet, but really I think areas that are north of the 40 corridor are in good shape. But you ought to be able to get some sleep now. But this stays into effect technically until 5 a.m. Now, the counties in northeastern Arkansas, Missouri Boot Heel, and the counties that border the Kentucky state line in West Tennessee have been removed. That does include Dyersburg, but the rest of the area south of that still technically under that tornado watch. And you can see where all of the activity is, and really just kind of bordering slightly north and now pushing south of the 40 corridor. Eastern Arkansas, we're still seeing that little line starting to ramp up too, at least in lightning production here. Taking a look at this little area back here, and I'll track it from just to the east of Little Rock, and let's go ahead and bring it on through Shelby County. And look at that, 312 strikes of lightning. Not a considerable amount, but the overall picture here, we'll take it to the Tennessee River. We're seeing about 586 strikes of lightning. At its peak, it was close to 2,000 or just over 2,000 strikes of lightning as it was coming through north central and northeastern Arkansas. Got a little closer to our coverage area in northwest Tennessee, right around Blytheville to Poinsett County. We were seeing about 1,500 to 1,700 strikes of lightning, and now we're down to about just under 600 strikes of lightning overall. So that's a good indicator that we are dealing with weakening storms, but they're still bringing in some gusting wind and there are even some pockets of hail in there, as Eric was pointing out. Look at that area right there, right around Shelby Forest. That's what we were checking out, because the potential for some large hail is definitely there right now. Just taking a look at this, check that out. Just over an inch in size. So that's quarter size hail. And as we take a look at the winds associated with this, we are seeing some decent wind just to the south of it. It should be coming on through, exited Shelby Forest, but just to the south and east of that, is starting to approach Bartlett, moving into the northern leg of the 240 loop. It's that little area right here where we're seeing the greater amount of turbulence or stronger winds that extends back into Marion as well. And just taking a look at the velocity on this, we ought to be able to depict it a little better. There you go. Look at this area right here. That is where we're seeing the potential for damaging wind as that pushes off to the south and southeast. So Bartlett, you're within the path of that. As I track this out, we'll just track it from the wind itself. Let me move this up just a little bit, all right? So here's what we're gonna do. That's where we're seeing the strongest winds coming into play. Let's put a track on that right now. We'll go from Millington to the west and take it on. My track didn't work, not like I wanted it. So let's try it one more time. We'll go from Millington and we'll bring it just to the south of Shelby Forest and go south and southeast with it. I'll even take it on into Cordova and Germantown. So we could have some strong gusting wind, the potential for taking down trees, maybe even some power lines with this as it's coming on through if those gusts are 60 miles an hour or over. Benjastown, 247. Overton, 249. Raleigh, 254. Bartlett, 257. Evergreen, 3 o'clock. Then 302 into Binghamton. 305 into Memphis. Colonial Acres should get in there right around 309. So that is that gusting wind, and that is what's coming in with that leading edge of heavier precipitation that's just now entering northwest Tennessee and pushing off to the south and to the southeast. But that is the most potent band right now on all of this. Even zooming out just a little bit, taking a look at the bigger picture, that's what we're seeing right now. Oh, and the polygon has now been updated. Let's check this out, because severe thunderstorm warning now for Fayette, Shelby County. That's going to go until 3:30. Tipton County included in that as well. Eric?
Well, it's Patrick now.
Oh, it's Patrick.
Yeah.
How
I'm
are
over
you?
here now. Hey,
good morning, my friend. It's good to see you.
Nice to see you here. Just so you know, that is a new severe thunderstorm warning that they issued. So the one that they had out for, for Cross County, Crittenden County, Shelby County, they allowed to expire. This is a new warning that includes Tipton as well as Fayette and Shelby counties that goes until 3:30. This warning is for larger hail size. This goes up to 1.25 inches in hail size, and then a 60-mile-per-hour wind potential that comes along with it. The other thing that we're watching here is the outflow boundary that's still working its way southward. It should be approaching Midtown Memphis here shortly. So I think we're going to get a little gust of wind here, probably 30, 35 miles an hour with, no rain or very little rainfall moving into the city here very shortly. That would be moving up closer to like Bolin Hughes and Old Brownsville Road down through Egypt and through Raleigh here and Fraser here shortly. So again, something to be prepared for. The rain may be delayed behind that, but the rain is working its way slowly but surely down towards the south and towards the east. And we're hopeful that we can get at least a little bit of rainfall, but unfortunately we're getting the added extras of the potential for some strong storms. Going back and looking at the hail potential that comes along with this. Again, that area that Eric was just watching back over towards Shelby Forest, that area, again, pretty close to the radar. So I think that what we're doing here is that, we were looking at the threats and it was showing 3-inch hail. The problem is that it's so close to the radar site that it's shooting through rain. So, we're looking at some hail that's falling out of here, but we're so close to the radar site that it may actually be falling down just big raindrops. kind of coated into some of that hail that is falling. So I think that there's some hail, but it may not be as large as what the computer algorithm was thinking. But that's still working its way down closer to Millington right now. Should be crossing over 385 here shortly. Highway 51 heading down towards Jones Farms, back over towards Raleigh-Millington Road, Singleton Parkway, and eventually crossing over Austin P Highway here shortly, Ron. So, pretty active start to the morning here. Obviously, you guys have been here since I left. Before I left here
it's
yesterday.
Been a long day and today as well. Hit that skit for me, will you? There was a skit right there near Millington. I want to take a look at what some of that info was that was on that. What do you see?
It's it's still saying that there's a BTI of 4.7, but I haven't really seen a lot of rotation.
I don't either.
That's the thing. It's like I think that the environment as a whole still is conducive for rotating storms, but the storms are not tapping into that environment. That's good. We've kind of gotten away with not a lot here this evening. Out worse, we've had 2 reports of some small tornadoes back over into Arkansas during the evening and overnight period. No reports of damage so far from those, but needless to say, again, we're still watching these storms. They are in an environment that can be conducive for severe weather, but does not mean that it is producing severe weather. So that's the thing, and that's what we've been dealing with. We've been hitting a ceiling all night long, which is good. We need the rainfall. We don't want the added extras. But when it comes down to trying to figure out, okay, where we're going from here, because now the story is what's the next thing that's going to happen, because we still have storms that could be on the way later on today that could also feature some strong winds, the potential for a tornado, the potential for hail. That will be later today, but this round of storms is kind of on the weakening side of things, and that was to be expected. 3-4 o'clock in the morning, things would start to wind down, and a lot of your Tuesday will end up being fairly quiet comparatively to what you're dealing with right now. I know you guys were looking at the lightning not terribly long ago. I mean, there's still a ton of lightning associated with this storm that's working its way through here. It's popping off pretty good here. I don't know who's in the back. Is it Sergio or Ben or I don't know who's back there. Okay, Ben, can we take the tower camera, the downtown tower camera? And that's looking back up past Tom Lee Park. You can see all the lights from where they're setting up River Beat, which looking at Friday's forecast, maybe a little wetter than what we were anticipating yesterday. But you see the lightning popping off in the distance here this morning, and that's that line. Ron, if you're looking at it a little closer than I can see it, do you see that shelf cloud?
Yeah.
That little linear?
I do. That is that little line that's right there in the middle of the scene right there.
So that's where probably where the outflow boundary is located at, because the storms would be just behind that. That's moving into downtown. You see the lightning popping off there pretty persistently off in the distance. So if you're up and around Fraser, you're probably hearing the rumbles. Millington, Raleigh, over towards Egypt, as well as even around Bartlett, Rosemark. It's loud, but the good news is that it's not full on the worst thing in the world, but I will say that it's probably pretty loud. Some gusty winds still pushing through here early this morning.
There's a lot of lightning in there still. A tremendous amount just within that little cluster.
Yeah, and that's just looking at one cluster of that storm. Now, this is probably the strongest portion of the storm, but it's still, pretty lightning rich, even at 2:52 in the morning. And we appreciate everybody watching us here early on a Tuesday morning, because guess what? You get to see me for the next, 6 hours, 9 hours, 8 hours, I don't know.
Till about 10 o'clock
tonight. Till about 10 o'clock tonight.
Yeah. Because look, we do have another round that's going to come into play. And look, you were just looking at forecast model data a little while ago. You came in here this morning about 1:30, 1:45. What did you see for later in the afternoon today? And I asked that because every forecast model run has been changing in position, in timing, and everything. So what's the latest output, and what are your thoughts?
It's still thinking late this afternoon. I think a lot of today, it'll be almost somewhat kismet to what we saw yesterday, because what we saw, Monday, for you, it's still today.
It's still today,
But the thing is that, when we look at what happened yesterday versus what what's going to happen today. I think the timing is still going to be there. Only difference is that obviously we didn't have the cluster of thunderstorms moving through yesterday morning. It was a few isolated downpours here and there. We've got a cluster of storms moving through here this morning, but these will tend to fade away. We'll have a relative lull in the activity for a lot of hours tomorrow, and then we get towards like 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That's when we start to be in an environment that would be a bit more conducive for another wave of storms to move through the area. Maybe not in the same vein, but I think that there will be a cluster, and it has been pretty persistent. One coming from the north and west from the approaching cold front, and there's a disturbance back out to the west that will also kind of ride along I-40, and those two will meet somewhere in the middle. The question mark is where exactly in the middle will it meet. All of that will then push through, and it should be done by Wednesday morning's commute. We might have a couple of lingering showers, but I think the vast majority of the area should be done with the rainfall by Wednesday morning's commute. But yes, it does look like still later in the afternoon, probably early evening, we start to see the first wave of storms approaching the area, and that round of storms could still feature some strong and severe elements. You can't rule it out completely here. You know, yesterday's storms were capped off. You know, we had a lid on the atmosphere for a very, very long time, and it lasted longer than what we were anticipating, which is good. That kept us from getting supercell thunderstorms to tap into this environment, which were part of the story, or at least a question mark about yesterday afternoon and early evening. The thing is that that cap held strong enough that we were not able to get those storms to flare up. That is good news. We needed the rainfall, though. We're just now starting to get it. I think for places like Oxford, Ripley, Mississippi, Batesville, Clarksdale, this line is not making it there today. You're getting a couple storms to flare up, and you see a few of them working their way off of Enid Lake this morning, coming across I-55 near Batesville, down in southern portions of Tunica County, out near the wind farm. But those are moving off to the north and east. These are moving more east-southeast, and will continue to work their way through Shelby County here in the next little bit. Let me pop the warnings on here. So you see the one warning that is currently in effect is going to be for the eastern side of Shelby County. Does include Midtown, does include Binghamton, Berkeley, Highland Heights. We're talking East Memphis. This goes until 3:30 this morning. Still with this report, just got a report of some hail around the Shelby-Tipton County line. Near Millington. That makes sense. Again, maybe not as big as it was a little bit ago, but it's still noticeable. And that portion of the storm's now pushing over Rosemark right now, coming down like Millington, Arlington Road, back over towards Austin P Highway, and working its way down towards the south and east. So heads up, Arlington, Galloway, Lakeland, Bartlett, Eads, Fisherville, those areas probably going to have the worst of this storm moving through here. But even in places like Fraser, Bingestown, down through North Memphis, New Chicago, Smoky City, downtown, uptown, and then eventually into Midtown, still going to have some strong storms, or at least some heavy downpours moving through your area here in the next little bit. We'll put a storm track on this. It's been moving at about, say, 45 miles an hour.
Well, believe it or not, that section of the storm's only moving at 29. 29 miles per hour right now. So I track it at about 30 miles per hour.
I'll back it up. There you go.
And that is, that's been the case. It's very slow moving storms through the night.
So there you go with the latest storm track on that. So gets to Bartlett. Time right now is 2:57. So we're coming up on the 3 o'clock hour. Bartlett, 3:11. 3:12 Lakeland, Oakland. So we're talking Fayette County now. 3:24, Somerville about 3:31, Williston about 3:45, Piperton in the southern portions of Fayette County about 3:54. That would probably be about the same time that it gets to Collierville. So just a heads up for folks in Collierville, maybe in that same area that you're talking about. But even with that, I think that the storm track still, it's not going due southeast, it's moving more like east-southeast. So it might be a little bit more outward from where I tracked it. But these are some of the communities that are going to be impacted by this. Obviously, Hickory With also catching some rainfall. Mason, Charleston, seeing some very heavy rainfall. Mumford and Atoka still on the backside of it. Covington is starting to come out of it as well. If you're up towards Blytheville, Ripley, Tennessee, Dyersburg, you're done with this round of storms. You're done, and you can go to bed. And I know that you guys called out, Selmer. I think that places like Corinth and Walnut, Mississippi, I think that this line is not going to get all the way down there. If it does, it will be in a much weaker state than what it is right now.
It's just a little bit of light rain. That's going to be about it. Shelby County now bearing the brunt of what's coming through, and really Cross and Shelby County. And just looking at the radar imagery itself, that Cross County cell seems to be packing a little bit of a punch right there around wind. It's loud over there right now.
Oh, yeah, lots of lightning with that one. Again, not severe on this one. Let's look at the winds inside of this. So, again, we're going to switch over to the which way the winds are blowing mode inside the First Alert Precision Tracker. It's not terrible. It may be some 30-mile-an-hour winds blowing south along US Highway 49 over into the western portion of the county. Arkansas Highway 1 between Wynn, Colt, and Caldwell here this morning. That's working its way down towards the south as well. But it's not severe, but it's pretty gusty.
Look at that outflow from Edmondson down to Forest City. There's a gust right there. It's the outflow from that cell that's coming through Cross County. The wind's coming down. It's that colder air aloft because, Patrick, these storms were topping out. Precip was topping out at about 30,000 feet. So those cloud tops were probably about 40, maybe even closer to 45. So some cold air funneling down. You get that sudden gust of wind, and even though there's not any rain right there around Forest City and Edmondson right now, I guarantee you the wind's coming down pretty, the wind's pretty strong in that area.
Probably a good, 30, 40 mile an hour wind gust with that. Just so you know, 3 o'clock this morning, you're watching live severe weather coverage with a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for portions of Shelby County, Fayette County. It looks like they've clipped Tipton County out, so that's good news.
It is out now.
That goes until 3:30 this morning. You're watching this here on Action News 5. First Alert Meteorologist Patrick Ells joined by Chief Meteorologist Ron Childers. He's had a very long day, so
we got another one coming.
And we got another one
later
coming.
today, it's another First Alert weather day through the day today. And by the way, good call. Well, Eric and I were talking earlier this evening as we were tracking the storms. My concern all along was been the greater threat for Tuesday being more of a severe threat overall and more widespread. And you made the great point that we'll have this, we expect to see something coming in out of the northwest while we see an entire line coming in from the west. That's all going to converge right on the Mid-South. So later on this evening, late afternoon and evening, we could see another round. And I think this round is probably more ominous. All right, I don't want to say ominous. That's not really the right word, but I think there's a greater probability that we see more widespread rainfall and wind damage with this round that comes through later this evening as compared to what we saw or any threat that existed on Monday. What are your thoughts on that?
Maybe one of those situations that we're going to have to watch out for. I pulled up the one of our forecast models here. This is 5 o'clock this afternoon to kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at here. So an area of low pressure is coming out of the west. We've still got this frontal boundary to the west as well. So what's going to happen today? The front that's moving through right now, or what you think is a front, is not really a front. It is kind of coming but not passing through. You've heard me say this before. It's
a short wave.
It approaches us, but it doesn't cross the plane. It doesn't cross the finish line here. So what happens is that another system's going to have to come and push it down the pipeline, and that will happen later on today. So we have a little bit more push in the atmosphere. Maybe not the same thermodynamics or fuel for the fire that we had yesterday, but we have a little bit more push in the atmosphere to get these storms going. So that's why you're going to get it from kind of 2 different directions. This is 5 o'clock this evening. This is one model's depiction of storms that will be flaring up at this point. More storms developing actually along the front itself as it gets ready to head eastward. So I think, late this afternoon into the early evening hours, we're going to be watching this cluster of storms developing, and you might have, and I think, Ron, you're right, I think from the standpoint of the specific threat, I think the higher potential on top of potential flooding, it's going to be straight line winds and maybe an embedded spin-up tornado. That's what it's looking like. Yeah. When you see these little curly cues right here, these little pushes out, even on the modeling, it's still suggesting to me, when I look at just that and that alone, I'm saying that's going to be some wind damage for somebody somewhere, either in the Mid-South or within probably about a 50-mile radius of the Mid-South. So that's something that we're going to be watching out for, because guess what? That's going to take us right on into the early evening hours. And thankfully, this one won't be as late. It seems like this one's out of here by 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and maybe a lingering shower early in the morning on Wednesday. But at the any rate, still the potential for another round of strong to possibly severe thunderstorms in play. That's what you need to be prepared for the rest of the day. And guess what? You'll hear me say that for about 5 hours this morning here on Action News 5 starting at 4 o'clock.
And don't forget 2 hours on digital as well. They do a great digital broadcast from 7 until 9 p.m. You can find that on all of our streaming platforms for Action News 5. So that is for those of you who, like myself, aren't necessarily up and at 'em at 4, 5, 6 a.m., you've got that 7 to 9 2-hour period that you guys are doing a great job there. But let's take a look once again. Look, this is a mess overall, but the area that is really dealing with the greater potential for the heavier wind or the heavier rain, the stronger wind, it's obvious. It's right here. It's right around Shelby County right now. Let me put some features on here for you and show you what we're looking at. First of all, taking a look at the lightning once again. We had a considerable amount of lightning that was over this area. I don't know why that is not showing up for me. Let's go back to the home view here.
Just so you know, Ron, they did update that speed. It's now 20 miles an hour.
It is. So it's slowed down.
It's even slower.
You want to talk about why that is slower? Check that out.
It's like it's running out of steam. It's running out of push.
Running out of steam, but we still have a decent south flow that's in advance of that too. So as that disturbance is coming on in, gets to the 40 loop and just kind of stalls. That's going to make for a rainmaker. And Patrick, I also think that now with this slowing down as it is, and it's still producing a lot of rainfall, and there's a pretty good amount of hail in there, we could start seeing the potential for some flooding areas. You know, we see, you get around Fraser, right along 51.
Yeah.
There's some areas that are prone to flooding, especially in high precipitation events like we're seeing right now. So the morning commute could be a bit of an issue in regard to ponding, standing water out there. I think as we get into the peak of the morning rush hour, this is going to be gone, but the after effects of water accumulation could still be a big issue for us.
Yes, and I think that may be a problem for at least part of the area, especially the earlier on that you end up going out here this morning. Again, severe thunderstorm warning until 3:30 this morning for much of Shelby County. Things have gotten trimmed back a little bit from Tipton County. Ben, let's take that tower camera from downtown's perspective again. I'm looking over here and you can see that lightning popping off in the distance. I mean, that is a tremendous amount of lightning. You can kind of see the ragged base of the storm that is now pushing into downtown. This is not even the strongest portion of the storm, by the way. The strongest portion of the storm is between Millington and Bartlett right now, coming down Singleton Parkway, the backside of the base this morning, moving off to the east. I don't have a camera up that way. I wish it did. I wish I had a camera in every single spot in the Action News 5 coverage.
We're working on it.
It's a work in progress. But this is one vantage point that you can see the lightning. So this is probably what people are waking up to right now. I will tell you this portion of the storm, while loud, is not the strongest portion of it, but it's going to have some wind with it as it comes through here, probably about 30 or 40 mile per hour wind gusts as that's moving through here. So let's keep an eye out on this camera. Let's go back over to radar really quickly. Let's go back go over to Ron.
Yeah, let me give you a track real quick. I've got some communities on here because Bartlett, that's coming your way right around 3:15. That's going to hit. So you got about 8 minutes before that heavier rain and the gusting wind that's on the leading edge of that comes through. But West Memphis 3:08. So really it's coming through right now. Great timing on this. As we get to Harbortown 3:12. Again, Bartlett 3:15. It's going to get inside the 240 loop right around 3:23, should move into Cordova at about 3:27, Colonial Acres 3:30, Germantown, you're in the path of this. That'll come through right around 3:36, and we'll see it move on into Canadaville right around 3:37. So these are some of the times and the areas that are in the path of this. And at the very least, look at the lightning on this, Patrick. Just in northern Shelby County, I am encompassing a portion of Crittenden County in this. just under 250 strikes of lightning. Real quick look at the hail, and then I'll throw it back over to you because we did have a decent hail season. Look at that.
Yeah.
It's still holding through right there, showing hail just over an inch in size. And as I slice this, let's see if we can get an idea on the height. You may even have a better slice than I do on this. The precision tracker really does a great job of pinpointing the hail view. And that's what I'm looking at. The tops on this a little lower now at about 20,000 feet, but some very heavy rain, and you have the potential for hail. What are you seeing over there?
I'm just looking. I put the precision tracker in the 3D mode as well. See, this is not going to go through the entire slice of the atmosphere because we're so close to the radar site.
Yeah.
Radar site sits right here at the Millington Airport, just off of the base. But you know, where I'm looking at right now is going to be out near the Memphis International Raceway. Out near Lucy, that, you know, you see that purple and pink right there. That's where Ron's depicting the potential for some hail. You see the scan kind of coming and going because we're getting a new volume scan coming in.
And we did get confirmation of hail.
Yes.
Tipton County, Shelby County line.
Yes.
Coming on through there.
So I wouldn't be surprised if this is hitting the ground. Pleasant Ridge Road coming out over towards Austin P Highway, Singleton Parkway. Wouldn't be surprised if we are getting some hail coming down there. Also around 385 right there near the base, on the backside of the base here this morning. That's working its way down towards Bartlett, Ellendale, and Brunswick here. You're talking like Kirby Whitten Parkway, we're talking Old Brownsville Road, we're talking out near the 9th grade academy, the old Chatelawn Middle School, working your way out towards Bolton as well, Bolton High School, Jack Bond Road, Brunswick Road, and right there around 385. So that area there, I think that's going to be the area to watch for potential for hail. Right now, also up near Rosemark, I wouldn't be surprised to be seeing some hail also falling in that area as well. I'm going to go back into just your traditional regular mode. We'll put this back into the broader perspective because I know that there are probably some folks down here in Oxford and down through Panola County, even into Tate County. You're probably thinking, okay, what's going on? I'm hearing some rumbles of thunder. You got a couple cells out there, but these are not severe right now. We're going to keep an eye on them because this isn't an area that also has not seen very much in the way of issues here over the last little bit. Let's take that downtown camera. It is rocking and rolling right now as the storm is now starting to roll in here. You see all the lights down there at Tom Lee Park. That's for Riverbeat coming up this week. They put up all the lights and all the stages, you know, and so, you know, when you have things like this, you know, you're hopeful that everything is still holding there by the time all of this is said and done.
Yeah, I was surprised the stage was still up. I'm surprised they didn't bring that canopy down on that with the storms coming through.
Yeah, that's one of the stages right there where you see kind of like a devoid of light there. That's one of the one of the stages that's on the south end of the park. The other stage is at the other end of the park. But you get the idea here. I mean, you see the camera kind of rocking and rolling. You've got the heavy rainfall. You've got the lightning that's popping off here, and it is going to be loud for many of you here this morning. Again, the worst portion of this storm is working its way across portions of eastern Shelby County right now. From the standpoint of wind, let me go back over to the which way the winds are blowing mode. Let's go back over to radar and keep an eye on that camera as well. Probably the worst of the wind right now from the severe portion of the storm. This is going to be crossing over Austin P Highway near Pleasant Ridge Road this morning. So working your way out towards Jack Bond Road, heading out towards Brunswick Road, Bolton, the northern edge of Bartlett here near the Loosahachie River, and then also back over towards the east, like I said, out towards Bolton and Brunswick. So if you're in the northern portion of Shelby County, I would say from like Egypt Central Road, points northward right now, that's where we need to be kind of in the mindset of, yes, there's some strong storms that could also be producing not just the wind, but also the hail potential as well. There's some pretty gusty winds also coming through downtown right now. With that, you can see the lightning popping off behind me. That's actually the camera from downtown behind me. Let's, can we take Midtown? I want to see Midtown's perspective as this line's moving through. So let's take another perspective of the line of storms as it's moving through here this morning. That's a look at Midtown. You see the camera bouncing up and down. You're looking off to the west, looking towards downtown from Midtown. The rain hasn't gotten here just yet, but obviously it is popping off with the lightning and, of course, the gusty winds out ahead of that line of storms, which is now beginning to roll through Shelby County here this morning. Time right now, 3:13. That warning goes until 3:30 this morning. I wouldn't be surprised based off of kind of what things are doing right now. They may extend it. We'll
Somebody
see.
just asked on Facebook, because we've been streaming live on Facebook tonight, asking about the tornado threat. Your thoughts on that right now?
I think it's pretty low at this point.
Yeah,
I think
do too.
I think the issue right now, and that's why I said, you know, the BTI number is taking what's in the atmosphere and trying to put it down to what's happening on the radar surface here. I just don't think right now the tornado threat is very high. Could we get another brief tornado risk? It's not completely off of the table. I can't say it's zero, but I think it's a lot lower than it was maybe 6 hours ago here this morning.
And look, we still have the watch that's in effect. This watch is in effect until 5 a.m. I do believe the northern counties have been removed from this, but
yeah, I
that
think
was
so.
a watch I saw earlier. But for whatever reason, the map itself is not updating. But most of the coverage area, and it does include Memphis and Shelby County, northern Mississippi, good portion of West Tennessee, and generally south of the 40 corridor, still technically under a tornado watch that, again, goes until 5 a.m. this morning. And you can see this line, as it's coming on through, it's really packing a punch as it pushes off to the south and southeast, especially right there north of 40 from Cross County, now coming on through Memphis and Shelby County. And this whole line just kind of moving off to the east, southeast in that direction. But then we see these little cells coming in here out of northern Mississippi. So we're going to watch this area right here as all that starts to converge. But right now, the bulk of the activity, or the greater threat for the stronger storms, seems to be right around Memphis and Shelby County. I think this Cross County storm back to the west looks like it is trying to weaken to some degree, but still may be packing a punch with the wind. But this little cell right here, it is not letting up by any means, and it's bringing with it some hail, a lot of very heavy rainfall. So Memphis 319, 321 into Lakeland, Cordova 325, 331 Germantown, that's coming your way. That lightning, that thunder, that's going to wake you up as you're anybody who's deep sleeping right now. Hickory Hill 334. Collierville 342. We're looking at Piperton 346 and 350 into Rossville. So that's what I'm seeing. You've got a great, is this the 1 hour futurecast you've got on this? Let's check it out.
So this is the future scan on First Alert Precision Trackers. So this will take it out an hour from where it is right now to where we will go for the next hour. So you'll see that storm is moving more to the east rather than to the south and east. So I'm thinking this is going back to, it's now running perpendicular to the line.
Yeah.
It's not going to go much, the line itself is probably not going much further south than the state line, if anything. There might be a couple cells, and you see those still working their way across portions of North Mississippi out towards Tate County, Panola County, Marshall County, Lafayette County. These storms here we're going to keep an eye on because obviously they're just out there in, and they're playing around out there as the rain's starting to come down here.
Coming down in Midtown right now.
But you notice that line never really gets any farther to the south. It is moving more easterly, and this is where the training effect starts to come into effect, and this is where we could have the flood concerns that may have impact for that morning commute, especially, I think, for north of the 240 south leg. So north of the 240 south leg may be the higher potential for that, but you get the idea here. I mean, this might still stick around throughout that course of the morning commute, or at least part of the morning commute. The second part of this, don't forget, we have another round of storms that are due into the area later on this evening that will have impact on the region, not from only the standpoint of rain, but the standpoint of even some severe weather.
Look at that little cell moving through Tate County. You see it's showing it's wanting to hook to some degree and a little bit of a right mover.
And so when I look at the early indications of that storm where it's at right now, I mean, it's definitely trying.
There's a little notch that's trying to form. Let me take a close look at that. I tell you what, pop over here. Let me jump in and analyze that real quick. And just, this is the cell we're looking at. It's got a lot of lightning around it
Before
right
you
now.
do that, Ron, just so you know, they're going to cancel another row of counties of the tornado watch. So the only counties that will be remaining will be along and to the south of I-40. So North Mississippi, East Central Arkansas.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so we got 30 strikes of lightning in there right there. So let me zoom into this little cell right here. Again, moving off to the east for the most part, but I'm going to take the lightning out of here so we get a better view on it. Let's take a look, and you can see somewhat of a little notch here. Now let's put it into motion and watch it move over the last 30 minutes or so to an hour. Again, there may be a little something that's trying to develop in there. I want to watch that one closely. I'll throw the scope on this right now. Man, that rain is loud. I see maybe a little inflow right here, but overall nothing concerning right now. Patrick, we got to take a look outside from Midtown. Check this out. Ben, can you pop up the Midtown camera right now? It is coming down cats and dogs, and I want to go from Midtown to downtown, and any cameras you have, let's see them. This is at 1960 Union Avenue. That's downtown Memphis right now. Patrick, thoughts on this?
It is heavy, to say the least. We just got a new roof here at Action News 5, and so this is like the first time I've heard it with with rain coming down.
It's like a snare drum.
Yes. I thought it was just loud whenever the FedEx planes were coming through here in the morning, but it's even louder now. I think that the FedEx planes are going to have a time trying to land here early this morning, but needless to say, and take off for that matter. But this is what we're dealing with here this morning. Let's go back over to Precision Tracker and give you an idea of where the storm is located at right now. And again, you've got what we are dealing with in Midtown. Some pretty heavy rainfall, okay? Then you've got this other line that's still working its way through places like Bartlett, back up towards Brunswick here this morning. And the area that I'm concerned with the potential for some hail would be right here.
Yep.
Billy Mayer Road. This would be coming out near Rivercrest Elementary. Bartlett Elementary sits right about here. So just so you know, it kind of gets your bearings straight here. And then Old Brownsville Road would run right in through here. So if you are in that area this morning, just so you know, there might be some small hail falling out there. Billy Mayer Road, out towards Egypt Central, Old Brownsville Road, out through Rivercrest, that area, they're on the northern edge of Bartlett here this morning. Kirby Whitten Parkway is right here. Heading out towards Ellendale Elementary. We're talking like Bartlett Baptist Church here shortly.
You know what's amazing? For somebody who's only lived here for a couple of years, you know this area incredibly well.
I have to give my people what they need.
Pointing out landmarks. You're really good at that.
Well, unfortunately,
it's
like I also live out here, so I have a vested interest.
Yeah.
So
I get it. I absolutely get it.
But needless to say, you know, some hail potential rolling through here this morning. So something to keep in mind as we get a new scan that's coming in. We'll see how far east it comes. It's only moving like 20 miles an hour, so it's not moving very fast. You know, Bartlett PD would let this one go. So, you know, that's how slow this thing's moving. So it looks like right now, probably the heaviest potential for hail, Billy Mayer Road, over towards Quail Ridge, Golf Course, Kirby Whitten Parkway, in between that area here this morning. That's where I'm thinking the worst of the potential for hail would be located at. Obviously, elsewhere, I want to zoom back out. It is coming down cats and dogs, Midtown, downtown, North Memphis. South Memphis is about to get involved in it as well, down towards Whitehaven. Whitehaven's fairly quiet right now in comparison to the rest of the area. East Memphis, Sea Isle Park, also pretty quiet right now. Colonial Acres is not seeing the heaviest of rain, but it's knocking on your back doorstep. Chickasaw Gardens as well. So you get the idea that this is going to continue its work down towards the south and east. The worst of the weather right now in the northern side of Bartlett, but it's still very heavy. I don't want to forget my friends in Arlington, Bolton, or Lakeland or Brunswick, because it's coming down good here. I think that there could be some gusty winds pushing through here as well as you're coming out here to the northeastern portion of Shelby County. But again, from the standpoint of what is quote unquote severe here, it is going to be basically north end of Bartlett right now. That's where the quote unquote severe portion of this storm is located at. That's why the warning is still out until 3:30 this morning for Shelby County. I don't think that's going to, by 3:30, this is going to jump over into Fayette County. So if they were going to continue this warning, they would have to extend the warning until probably 4:15 this morning.
I think they may do that just because of the hail, the potential that's in there.
And based off of what I'm seeing here, largely hail possibly on the north end of the 240-40 loop. So this would be out near Raleigh as well. So Raleigh, Bartlett line, that's where we're looking at, like Raleigh-LaGrange Road, James Road, Stage Road, that area, that's where we're seeing the potential for hail. But I think even more so right now, the one that I'm kind of keeping an eye on is right here where you see the hail working its way out towards Ellendale right now.
I'm looking at that little bow that's making its way right there at 40 and 240. Do you see that?
Yeah, right in
There's a
through
little
here.
bowing
So-
segment right there that may have some decent wind in it.
Yeah, hail potential here, wind potential right here. I don't know who's back there, who's the producer that could probably, okay, hey Malik, can you pull up the flyover camera and let's see, because that would be probably the closest, either that or White Station, and we'll try to go from there, from that perspective. All right, appreciate it. We'll zoom back out. Again, this is the strongest storm of what we got going on right now. The one severe thunderstorm warning, of course, it is involving Shelby County. Hence why we're on the air with you here this morning. Time right now, 3:24 here on a very stormy start to your Tuesday morning. And I don't want to forget that we're not out of the woods just yet. We still have another round of storms, hence why we have the first alert weather day extended through your Tuesday. Now, a lot of Tuesday is going to be okay. Once we get past this mess here this morning, we'll be in a lot better shape for maybe about 8 hours. And you're going to go through it like you did yesterday. You're like, where are the storms, weatherman? I have no idea. Where are the storms?
Yeah.
This is going to be probably later today that we see the next round of storms coming into the area. So I don't want you to, let the foot off the gas just yet. You still need to be weather aware throughout the course of the day because things will likely be rapidly changing.
So a viewer asked, one of our viewers on Facebook asked just a few minutes ago, we had the cap in place on Monday, prevented storms. Do we see that occurring later today?
I don't think so.
I don't see a cap in place. I think what's going to come through later today is going to come through.
Yes, and the thing is like yesterday's cap was so strong. It was stronger than most of the models had even projected. We expected that there would be a lid on the atmosphere for a little bit of time and then it would probably let it go. But that thing was strong yesterday.
And that's what that cap is.
Yeah.
So warm air rises, all right? And as it rises, it interacts with cooler air because the farther away you go from the surface, the cooler the air gets. But just above the surface, there was a warm air layer that was right there. So as that warmer air was rising, it reached a point of equilibrium and the storms couldn't develop anymore. Had it been able to punch above that and tap into that colder air, we probably would have seen storms breaking out all around the area. So that cap, or that lid as we talk about, that's what prevented the storm development Monday afternoon. That doesn't look like it's going to be the case as we get into Tuesday, and that's because we're going to see that front come on through, and that's really going to be the driving force to not only bring about another round of severe weather for later in the day today and this evening, but it's also going to be the driving force to sweep all of this out of here and leave behind a much calmer pattern for the middle and end of the week. Although, Patrick, I think we're looking at a chance of rain to kick off the
River Beat.
River Beat.
Yeah, I was just looking at it here this morning, and it's looking a little bit more likely that we'll have to tangle with rain. Do want to give you a heads up.
Yeah, what are you looking at there?
Again, it goes back to the hail potential here that's starting to kind of grow again as it's coming out of the shadow of the cone of silence. That storm right over Bartlett right now, again, it seems to be probably the strongest portion of the storm. Not only that, but from the standpoint of some hail potential. If it stays on the same track, it's heading out towards Lakeland here shortly, coming right down, kind of like paralleling Stage Road and Highway 64, I-40 here. It will move its way eastward, but where it is right now, with at least where the threats are, and we'll put a couple of these little things on here. Now, this is, again, going back to what Eric said earlier, okay? This is going to overestimate the hail, I think. But we do have, so what they did here, they're going to issue another severe thunderstorm warning. They just did. They increased the hail size to ping pong ball size hail for eastern Shelby County. So this is a new warning. There you go. Just popped in there. New warning from Bartlett eastward that includes Oakland, Collierville. This is going to go until... let's see here. This is going to go until 4:15 this morning. That's what I told you a couple minutes ago. I figured about 4:15 would be the next warning coming up. Large hail potential right now over the city of Bartlett. Again, you know, unfortunately at this point, I know that you're probably like, oh, it's already coming down. If you're east of here, you still got a little time to move the car into the carport, get the car into the garage, something of the sort here as it's moving off to the east. Basically, that's going to parallel Stage Road here. So from about, say here, Bartlett Boulevard eastward right now. That's where we're going to be looking at that following Stage Road all the way out to Wolf Chase, all the way out to Cordova, okay? That's where, okay, so let's take that traffic camera. This is going to be at the flyover. This is at Sam Cooper, so you're looking at I-40 Sam Cooper. This is actually looking at, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is looking towards the south. From the flyover, you're at the top of the flyover. If you were looking south from here, you'd be looking down towards Walnut Grove and Poplar. So again, this is the very heavy rainfall that's moving through here this morning. So this gives you an indication of what the morning commute's going to probably look like. Let's go back over to, let's go to the Midtown camera because things are lighting up over downtown. Let's go to Midtown now. Still coming down pretty good here in Midtown. So that's what it looks like here. Malik, I want you to go ahead and get I-40 and Germantown Parkway. Get that one ready for me if you would. Thank you. So again, hail potential high on mind here. Now moving through Bartlett. That's why actually it's not the winds necessarily, because if you look at the winds, let's go back over to the which way the winds are blowing mode and we'll clear off some of this stuff. This is not super strong here. Maybe a couple of wind gusts of maybe 30 miles an hour, but really and truly right now, this has come back up to a hail threat.
It's moving too slowly to really produce any wind. It is hail, it's torrential rain right now. And Patrick, at one point here in Midtown, it was coming down at 3.5 inches per hour. We've already, in just a short period of time, it's been raining here at our studios at 1960 Union Avenue. We picked up more than 1/3 of an inch of rainfall, and it is still coming down heavily right now. It looks like the lightning has also started to uptick a little bit, especially in this little line that's back here to our west. We got about 485 strikes of lightning, but right there around Memphis, Shelby County, Fayette County, close to 200 strikes of lightning. And then, as you mentioned, the hail threat. So we take a closer look at that. Let me zoom into that because it is still kicking out one heck of a hail signature. Now, is it reaching the ground at the size we're seeing right here, right there around Bartlett? Let me give you a number on this because look at that. It's coming down, it's showing a hail size at about 1.5 inches.
And that's what the Weather Service is putting this one at. Right now, I'm looking at it on Debris Tracker, and you know, you can look at that, and it'll be right where you're looking at it right there.
Look at that.
It's a suspended hail core that's like,
sure is.
But it's go back just ever so slightly.
It's like it's
almost coming down now.
Yeah.
It's starting to descend.
Yeah, and I think as it's reaching the ground, it's nowhere near that 1.5 inch in size, but there's a considerable amount of melting because as it falls, the air mass is still warm at the surface. So with friction, the warmer air there, we're getting a decent amount of melting with it. That's what's translating also into the higher rainfall rates that we're seeing with this. I don't think I can show you a picture on this. You've got a better view on the 3D view too, by the way. Let me kick it over to you in just a second. Let's take a look at it. You've got a good looking hail core over there.
Yeah, if that's coming down right now, that would be, I'm trying to get my bearings right. That's right over Germantown Parkway. Malik, do you have the camera up? The Germantown Parkway 940. All right, so let's take Germantown Parkway 940. This is where that hail core would be located at right now. So again, right on top of Germantown Parkway and I-40, this would be out near Wolf Chase this morning. You see how heavy the rain's coming down. It's hard to see if there's actually hail that's falling out of this. Obviously, it's 3:30 in the morning, but you see folks driving with their hazards on. I don't recommend you doing that because that means that you're in trouble. You're usually on the side of the road. So again, in some states, it's illegal for you to do that. But the fact of the matter is that this area right here is probably the worst of the weather right now from the standpoint of the severe portion of this. This is likely where the hail is coming down here this morning. So, you know, if this was 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon and the storms were coming through here with the hail core this size, we would have a big hail issue or a big, hail damage issue out here. But you got a lot of car dealerships out there along Stage Road. Here, you're thinking, like Wolf Chase, Honda, Nissan's out there, like all those car dealerships up there along Stage Road. So something to keep in mind here. Hopefully it's not coming down an inch of hail, inch and a half of hail, but is it possible? Based off of this, yeah, it is possible. This is moving now out towards Stage Road. This would be moving out towards like Countrywood.
I wouldn't want to be under that right now.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
There is some hail, heavy rain, and even visibility. Patrick, on that camera, we could barely see anything.
Yeah.
Take a look at downtown right now.
It's a lot better than it was a little bit ago.
After the storm. Can we show downtown real quick?
But
Can you pop that up?
as we do that, just so you know, this is now moving, the hail core is now moving over Countrywood. So this is like Berry Hill, Morning Sun, moving out towards the Kroger out there along Highway 64. So this is moving through Cordova now. So this is like out of Bartlett moving into Cordova, as we mentioned a couple of minutes ago, in the south side of Lakeland. But things have calmed down considerably from a perspective of downtown's perspective here this morning. Now you're looking back at the hail core again. The core that I'm watching right now is going to be moving over again Cordova right now. So like the core of Cordova, that's where we're dealing with the highest hail potential. Things have quieted down in Bartlett. So for the city of Bartlett, we can give you guys about the all clear. I would say just about, because there's a portion of Bartlett that extends out here back towards Brunswick Road and just past the Sam's Club and Walmart out here. But again, I want to point out here that the hail core itself, it seems like it's going to be right over Cordova, just to the south and east of I-40. So again, Countrywood out towards Morning Sun Road, Berry Hill Road, those areas east of Germantown Parkway now. This is going to head out towards Eads. It'll cross over Houston Levee Road near Morning Sun, more than likely. So, there's several apartment complexes out here as you're getting out into the eastern side of Cordova. Houston Levee Road, becomes Canada Road once you cross over Highway 64. But out and through here, I'd say from give or take, we'll say Walnut Grove Road, where it crosses over or tees off at Houston Levee and points northward. That's where the hail core is going to be the worst.
So let me give you confirmation. We got on our Facebook page here, Alice Carr says there is hail at Germantown Parkway. Velma Smiley says there is hail at Macon and Whitten, the areas you were pointing out. And then John Emmons says hail over here in the Hillshire community in between Whitten Road and Appling Road. So that is the area that you were targeting. And everybody is commenting that it is coming down in Collier in Cordova right now. So that Cordova Bartlett area, that's the brunt of as it's coming on through.
Let's I was going to do this really quickly to
Yeah.
kind of back up that point here. Let's go over and look at the hail track, so the hail swath. And you see
that.
where we were talking about near Shelby Forest about an hour ago. Look how it became a lot darker as it moved through Bartlett, and now especially. Like from Sycamore View Road up to Germantown Parkway, that's about where the heaviest of it has been in the last probably 5 or 10 minutes. And again, this is now moving out towards eastern portions of Shelby County. So from Cordova, Fisherville, and Eads, heads up, big hail potential now moving into your area. This is now south of I-40. So if you're south of I-40, out here in eastern Shelby County, I wouldn't say Collierville, I wouldn't say Bailey Station, Bray Station, Germantown, but I would say definitely if you're north of the Wolf River, you need to keep an eye out on this storm because this one has been putting down some big hail and it's been coming down pretty good as it's been moving through over the last probably hour or so? I mean, in this area, probably the last 20 minutes or so.
And we saw that really form, that line from Beaver to about Gilestown, and that's when it just really started to ramp up. That little line, Eric and I had been tracking that as it was coming out of Cross County on through Crittenden County, and then ramped up as it got into Shelby County. It'll really start to develop. And Patrick, through the whole night, quite frankly, that area in Shelby County, that little line that really started to ramp up in Shelby Forest, that's been the largest hail core we have seen on radar through the entire night. Storms started firing right around midnight. That's when we started seeing our warnings taken off, active tornado warnings. But as far as hail goes, that seems to be the greatest area for the hail. Right now, I want to zoom in right here because this is the bulk of it. It's crossing 40 now. Heavier rain just starting to push to the south, right there in that Wolf Chase, Cordova area, Collierville. That is coming your way. Let me put a track on this. I may be tracking this. What are we still tracking at, Patrick? About
20.
Is it at 20?
20.
And I tell you what, I need to update my track speed then.
It's moving. Yeah, I just put a storm track on.
You got a track?
Here.
Do it.
So from Cordova eastward, 20 miles an hour. So this will take you down about an hour. It'll get out to Williston in about an hour. So we're talking about Fayette County. Based off of the movement here, it's been more east-southeast. It hasn't been like due southeast, even though that the warning technically does clip Collierville. And I will give a call out to Collierville because I think that Collierville is going to get clipped by this storm. Germantown, you're next in line. But as far as the worst of the weather is concerned right now, it seems like it's going to be Cordova down towards the kind of paralleling the Wolf River here. But Germantown, if you're up closer to Wolf River Boulevard and, right around where the Waffle House is, the Chick-fil-A across the street, the Greenway area, that's where the heaviest of the rain is south of Shelby Farms currently. If you live in Germantown proper, down in the city, south of Poplar, you're about to get involved in this one here shortly. As far as Collierville, I can give it probably another 35 minutes or so before it gets down to Collierville. But really and truly, again, it looks like whatever has fallen out of this storm, and I'll put this into a loop over the last little bit.
Loop it, and then I'm going to put a track. I want to put some more communities on there.
Let me do the last 30 minutes.
Look at that.
See how it just blows up, like coming off of Bartlett down to Cordova. It's still probably producing hail, but somewhere between Bartlett and Cordova, it did produce some hail. Got some reports of dime-sized hail off of Shelby Oaks Drive, so this would be northeast Memphis. This may have been just outside of the worst of the core. It's close enough, but I mean, that you would have seen hail. But, we heard Whitten and Appling between the two. We heard Germantown Parkway. This makes sense based off of what we're seeing here with the radar perspective. It does look like the storm is kind of flattening out, though.
What did it feel like when you got in the office earlier this morning? What was it, about 1:30, 1:45?
Disgusting.
Was it still soupy outside?
It's disgusting.
Yeah. So and so what I think is this cell hit that urban island, and we're still radiating. We hit 84 degrees today, so we're still radiating a considerable amount of warmth into the atmosphere. So as that storm, and it was really weakening, Patrick, as it came in, and I think as it hit that Memphis metro, all the asphalt, concrete, buildings around the area, giving a little more thermal lift, and that contributed to the hail factor being in this, because so far this has been the greatest hail signature that we have seen and the most widespread, I do believe, although we've had some reports of some decent sized hail in and around the area. Let me put a track on this. I'm going to track it at about 25 miles per hour. All right, so we'll take it and I'll follow along the polygon, but a little more of an easterly progression. What are your thoughts right there?
It's like more east-southeast, but maybe a little bit farther north.
All right, a little farther north.
Like
right
there. Yeah.
Right there. Let's do that. All right, so look, here's some communities in the path. We're talking about strong wind, hail, very heavy rain, a lot of lightning coming your way. This is not tornadic. Good news there, but we got to keep a close eye on it. 350 into Kirk. It'll get into Collierville at 358. Piperton, 407. Then 413 into Rossville, 423 into Moscow. That's coming your way. Hickory Valley, 426. 443 into LaGrange, 447 into Grand Junction. So that is that line that's coming on through right now, packing a punch. Collierville, you're right there in the path. Get ready, it's coming your way. Although the brunt of it, this portion right here, is starting to make more of a move in that direction. So Collierville, you may just get a little bit of residual from this, but I think the greater threat for the hail core associated with this is going to be right there in that area. Check that out. Let me see. Am I getting a hail size in there? About 0.8 in size. So it looks like it's come down a little bit, but that's also translating into the torrential rain. And that was one of the things you and I talked about earlier, is the possibility for some flooding as this for the morning commute. There could be some pockets, especially into northern, north central, and southeastern Shelby County or eastern Shelby County, where there's water in the road for the peak of the rush hour in the morning.
Yeah, and just going back over to debris detector here, because this is another way that we can look at where hail could be falling, because it's not just looking for debris, it's looking for any shape that is different than everything else that's around it.
A raindrop, yeah.
So all this here is the same shape. Where you see the purple and the pink here, that is more so the same shape. Now, where we are watching the storm rolling through here, where there could be some hail, where you see these yellow pockets here. Those yellow pockets give us some indication that there's something that's different than just the raindrops that are falling here, something of a different shape. And that seems to be, again, between Cordova and Eads this morning, and heading out towards I-269. So between, I would say, if you were traveling along 269 this morning, between the Collierville exit all the way up to Highway 64, there's probably going to be some hail potential in through here from between Eads and Fisherville here, working its way off to the east. And eventually this will move over into portions of Fayette County. But to Ron's point here, going back over to the how hard it's raining mode, that seems to be the case when you look at it here. You see the little pocket of purple and black right there. That would be like Collierville Arlington Road right there, and moving out towards I-269 here very shortly. So again, if you're traveling, I think that's Macon Road. I think that's the exit for Macon Road right there too.
That's it.
So this would be like near Macon Road and Collierville Arlington Road here, where we've got probably the worst, the hail core or hail signature here. It's about to cross 269. I'll move over into Fayette County here very shortly. This line right here, that's the Fayette Shelby County line. So we'll be moving over towards Canadaville, moving out towards Macon, the town of Macon in Fayette County, but in Oakland right now, it's coming down. It's pretty heavy. It's probably also a lot of lightning. It's rumbling through there. But the worst of the weather right now, just now crossing over into Fayette County. It is south of 64. It would be south of Oakland and Somerville, but you're still getting a pretty good thump here early this morning. It definitely is going to wake you up if you haven't been already here within the last little bit.
Hey, let me give you a big view. Somebody wants to see what else is going on elsewhere in the area. And again, we've been focused primarily on Memphis, Shelby County, and right there along that 40 corridor. And that's because that's where the strongest storms are right now, the bulk of the precipitation. But look, if you are north of 40, you're in great shape. Northeastern Arkansas, Dyer, Lauderdale County. Got a little crazy earlier tonight in Dyer County, but Northwest Tennessee, northeastern Arkansas, you're fine. We're watching this activity that's been trying to fire up around northern Mississippi. This line is pushing a little to the south and southeast, but it may take more of an easterly progression. Northern Mississippi, I think you're in great shape. The other thing to keep in mind here, Patrick, as this line continues to push to the south and southeast, I think we're going to find some little areas where we see you know, a little intensity along the line itself, maybe a little more lift, but I do believe things are starting to look a little better for the entire city of Memphis and Shelby County as now this is pushing on out. We'll watch this come through, but the atmosphere should be a little more stabilized behind that main line right there, where we're still finding our severe thunderstorm warning that's going to remain until 4:15 this morning. But just looking at the big picture, again, the focus right around the Memphis metro. So Fayette, Shelby, Crittenden County under the gun. Couple of hit and miss showers northern Mississippi, you're faring well. Areas north of 40, you're in the clear, you're doing just fine. But some pockets of very heavy rain for you early risers out there. And I know a lot of folks probably rolled out of bed from the thunder, the lightning, and the hail coming down this morning. It is looking a little better. You want to give a look at Futurecast. Show us how things are going to play out over the next hour, Patrick.
Yeah, so looking at our future scan here, again, still have the severe thunderstorm warning until 4:15. Actually, I think they just dropped it.
I do believe so. They were taught, yeah. I think they're going to let that expire.
Yeah. So
or drop, cancel, excuse me.
Well, you know, that's the case here. By the way, we have a newscast coming up here 4 o'clock, so we will not.
Yeah,
be,
you do.
We will not be gone for very long, my friends. But with that being said, you know, what we can do here, we can reset. We've got to get everybody kind of set up here for the newscast. But I do want to point out here the next little bit, because as we go through the next hour or so, there's still going to be a training effect of very heavy rainfall right along the I-40 corridor from St. Francis County through Crittenden County, Shelby County, then south of I-40, I would say right along the state line from Fayette County, Hardeman County, and McNairy County. These storms could pulse back up to become strong to severe, but this was to be expected here this morning. I think the coverage of these rain showers will begin to taper by sunrise, or around sunrise, but remember, we still have another round of storms to contend with here as we head through the afternoon hours. And of course, we'll have full updates of that starting off at 4 o'clock this morning here on Action News 5. The time right now is 3:49. So we've been doing this. Well, you guys came on, what, 12:30?
We came on right around shortly after midnight. I do believe. I kind of lost track of time. 12:20.
12:20.
So we've been going
Eric
since
is
about
still here,
12:25. We got here yesterday. Yeah, it's been long. We knew coming into this, and over the weekend, the four of us, as a matter of fact, Riley Winch, we'd all been in close communications with each other, and we'd talked about this since last week, our most significant severe weather threat for this area of the season. So we were focused and ready to go for today, but we knew that we would likely see some sort of activity coming in late night. That's certainly the way it played out. I'm really happy we dodged the storms earlier in the day on Monday. But look, we can't let our guard down, because, Patrick, you're going to be talking, coming up at 4 a.m., you're going to be talking about what's going to come through later on tonight, or possibly even this afternoon. So we've got another round. What are your thoughts on the tornado threat with what's coming through? I've been asked that a couple of times on our Facebook feed.
As far as right now or later?
Later today.
Later today.
I think this is rain.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at anything with tornadoes in this, even though we technically still have the tornado watch in effect for many areas. But later today, what are your thoughts? You got a chance to check out some of the newer data that had come in.
You know, it's looking more likely that we're going to have that kind of that conglomeration of two different waves moving into the area. That's what it is. Now, that will likely feature more so, I think, damaging wind threats. But embedded in those damaging wind potentials, you have these little small-scale circulations that can find their way across the area and skip across the area. That's where we could still have a tornado risk. It's not going to be what some portions of Oklahoma and the Midwest have seen in the recent couple of days. It's not going to be like that. These will be our more standard operating procedure, like spin up tornadoes across parts of the area. We still technically have the warning up until 4:15 this morning. They did not cancel that warning, but they have noted that that they're going to issue a new warning that's going to come downstream. This is going to be for Fayette County. I think it's going to clip Marshall and Benton County, and maybe a little bit of Hardeman too. So probably get this warning clipped off here in Shelby. then it'll be more so a Fayette County storm. Now, I don't want you to think that we're out of the woods, again, from the standpoint of everything that's going on here. I want to go back out to the wider view here, because this is going to be something that obviously I'm going to be tracking here all morning long here on Action News 5. Hence why we have the first alert weather day that's continuing for today, because it's not just what you're dealing with right now, it's what's coming later today. We do have this round of storms. This should be done by about 7 o'clock this morning, but it will be a very messy morning commute. Go ahead and be prepared for slowdowns and be prepared for some delays here this morning. Haven't had any reports of flooding so far, and let's hope we'll keep it that way, but your typical spots that have a tendency to pool water may have some issues here this morning. But keep in mind, this boundary, where it's located at right now, may be a launch point for the next round of storms later on today. So there is going to be 2 waves, remember? One that's coming from the north and west, another one coming directly from the west to the east as we go towards the end of the day. There's your new severe thunderstorm warning out that's now going to clip, does not clip Marshall, but it does clip Benton, Tippah, and Hardeman counties. That one is going to go until 4:30. So
do you have the BAM's Futurecast?
I do.
Let's pop that up and give a visual of what we're talking about that's going to come through. This is going to be one particular forecast model, all right? So this is exclusive to our First Alert Precision Tracker. There have been several forecast models that we've been relying on for the last few days on this. This is one of the higher resolution models, and I think overall it's got a pretty good handle on things, maybe a little off on timing, but I think it's got a good depiction of the area that will be impacted.
So this would be after sunrise this morning. Most of the rains come to an end, and that frontal boundary is still nearby. Remember, that's what I was just talking about, that the front's not going anywhere. It's just going to hang around, and that acts as a conduit or a train track for the next wave to come down the pipeline. As we zoom out a little bit, that next wave is over the Red River Valley. That will start working its way eastward as we head through the course of the day today, and that's what's going to spark a few more showers. I think we'll have a couple of sporadic showers here and there. I don't think it's going to be the most overwhelming opportunity through lunchtime today, but you notice that big cluster that forms over portions of Missouri. It starts dropping in here as we get closer to dinner time tonight. As we zoom in a little bit closer, some of those cells could feature, again, strong winds and maybe a hail threat that will come along with it as well. Can't rule it out that there could be a tornado, especially, I think, south of I-40. When you have that area of low pressure winding up like this, typically just south of there, that's where you can see the potential for tornado. So I think the higher tornado threat for tonight, based off of this, and this is just looking at this, it would be south of I-40 through North Mississippi, East Central Arkansas as we go into the early evening hours. Now, again, this is not verbatim, but it gives you at least a good idea of what to expect here as we go into the early morning hours of your Tuesday. So be prepared, or early evening hours of Tuesday, that there will be another round of storms to contend with on top of what you're dealing with here early this morning. So don't let your guard down. One way to stay up to date today is on the Action News 5 First Alert Weather app. You can download it in the Google Play Store, Apple App Store. The interactive radar is going to be your friend. You're probably, you're maybe watching us on the television screen looking at the radar. It's like, well, that's about where they said it was going to be. So that gives you some credence to what we're talking about. You can look at it yourself. The severe weather alerts right there in the palm of your hand. And we constantly are updating the forecast, not only the forecast, but also those videos on there as well to keep you abreast of any changes that could happen in between the newscasts that we have here on Action News 5. And let's be honest, we have plenty of newscasts here, so we have to find a way to get that information out to you, but we find it. But we'll let you know that, this is going to be a multiple round scenario. This is kind of round one. This will start to wane here in the next couple of hours. And then round two is this tonight. Once this is done, we're done until Friday, which Friday does not feature severe weather, but does feature rain. And that, unfortunately, has impact on River Beat. But it will just be that, just rain.
That low pressure center, check out the proximity of where the low pressure center is on Patrick's map. Now, this is a storm prediction severe weather risk for the day. An enhanced risk, that low, it's a counterclockwise spinning area of atmosphere, and it gives rise to the air at the surface. We now have a saturated ground mass or a lot of moisture added to the surface. So that's going to give that a little lift. And with the heat of the day, I think we're going to be back in the lower range of the 80s today. What are you guys thinking?
Yeah,
upper
low
70s,
80s.
lower 80s.
I just put it at 82.
So we're going to get some heat out of this. So we've got an enhanced risk for severe storms that lines up with that area of low pressure Patrick was talking about, where the potential for the greater lift will be. An enhanced risk, which is a level 3 on a scale of 1 to 5. So the tornado threat is going to be a little greater for parts of eastern Arkansas, northwest Mississippi, areas along and south of 40 and along and west of 55. But no matter where you are in the coverage area, there's still a slight risk that will be in place for the rest of northeast Arkansas, west Tennessee, and northeastern Mississippi. So the severe weather potential is going to be there for the entire area through the day. But that enhanced risk, or where that low pressure center is coming through, that's where we could see the threat for tornadoes. And Patrick, your map right now, you got a good depiction of it as how that's going to move through.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that for a second?
Just pushing through an extra hour. Remember we were talking about those little line segments, those little bursts of wind. One right there, one right there. And you get these little bows. Those bows are the wind issues, okay? But involved with those bows, on either side of them, and sometimes in between, you have these little kinks. And those little kinks have those possibilities for spin-up tornadoes. So I don't want you to let your guard down from the standpoint of tornadoes. I think it's more of a wind threat, excuse me, but more than likely it's going to be all-encompassing of rain, storms later on today. Notice the time frame here. This is 8 o'clock this evening. This is just one model's depiction, but most models have been kind of insisting that this will be the case. Now, let's hope that today's rain right now squashes everything. That could be a case, and that will be something that we'll have to manage later on today. I think we still get rain. Okay?
I think that's going to add, I think what's happening right now is going to add a little fuel to it, quite frankly.
You know, me and Riley had a conversation about Friday's rain and how it got to the river and just faltered. Yeah. You couldn't get past maybe the west leg of I-240 with it raining. So, you know, I feel like our atmosphere has been so dry lately. The ground's been so dry that the atmosphere is just staying, has been a little bit less moist than it would normally be here in the Mid-South. Now, today, a different story. Obviously, we finally got a little bit of rainfall here, and that may add a little bit to it to be able to get the storms to still be in place here. Here's the thing, though. At any rate that you look at it here, take away the severe weather aspect of this, okay, for a second. This is beneficial rain. We need the rainfall. It's just the added extras that you don't want. And that's the problem here as we are going to start off this morning hours. So right now we have a severe thunderstorm warning. I'm going to go back over to First Alert Doppler radar. This is going to be looking at precision tracker here. First Alert Doppler radar, we still have a severe thunderstorm warning technically until 4:15 for eastern Shelby County. I will say that the worst portion of that storm is now moving over into Fayette County. We will continue to track that storm here throughout the course of the morning hours. But of course, you also see another severe thunderstorm warning that is including Fayette County, portions of Benton, Tippah, and Hardeman counties. That goes until 4:30 this morning.
So I tell you what, let's do this. We've got the newscast that starts at 4. I think the severe weather threat for Shelby County is over. We've got that one severe thunderstorm warning for southeastern Shelby County. That's going to go until 4:15. The other one that's just to the east for Fayette, Hardeman, portion of Marshall County, that's going to remain in play. But this round of severe weather starting to wind down. What do you say we go ahead and start our morning newscast at 4 a.m.? I'm going to slide out the door because I'm coming back in a little while. We've got storms to track again later on tonight. What are your thoughts on going ahead? Let's start our morning broadcast. Let's get the news in and track these storms. You also need a couple of minutes, I think, to probably put together the elements of the forecast and get you going. You good with that?
Who said I wasn't doing that over here? That's what I had my computer over here for. So I've been doing that since, you know, since 1:30 this morning.
So I tell you what, let's go ahead and let's Action News 5 at 4 a.m. start right now.
Taking action for you. Action News 5 starts now.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'm Andrew Douglas. That is a live look from our Midtown High Five cameras. You can see 4:01 the time on a Tuesday, and it is pouring here in Midtown and across much of the Mid-South. If you've been watching, meteorologist Ron Childers, Chief Meteorologist Ron Childers, we had meteorologist